Douluo, my martial spirit is a system. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251 Thundering Beginning Sword. Fei felt the soul power being continuously absorbed to fill up the superimposed re-engraved martial soul. He had never experienced such an unprecedented pressure before. If it was really more painful than this, Fei may have already passed out. After all, like the first time he used the crown of destruction and the first time he absorbed the deed of the underworld with the external soul bone. The sharp claws showed a special dark purple color, and at the same time, a mass of purple flames on Fei's other hand kept rubbing violently with the air, and an aura similar to the flames on Yan's body was continuously released. The flame of Yan Wuhan, but this is not a soul skill used, it is simply a flame created, perhaps after the transformation of the Villain of Chaos. The fiery red flame that originally belonged to Hoyan has also changed into such a very special dark purple flame. The creeping dark purple, blue and silver grass covered the entire soul fighting stage, and it was rare for Fei to show a smile. The blue and silver grass spread on the entire ground seemed useless, but in fact it had countless effects. At least from the point of restricting the opponent and weakening the opponent. If the combination of the blue silver grass and the withered wood vine is absolutely terrifying, it definitely has that special suppressive power. The release method of the blue silver grass is different this time. Fei directly combines the blue silver grass and the deadwood group vines and covers the entire soul fighting platform, so that the output of the opponent's soul power can be suppressed all the time. This is a very good way to suppress, as long as the opponent is still standing on the ground. Doing so will have an effect. The aura emitted by the replica seems to be stronger than before. If it was purely a soul master, it seemed that it would not be able to make such a big wave, but the ape standing in the bottom line suddenly broke out with an astonishing momentum. Soul beasts, at the same level, can definitely defeat the existence of soul masters. Of course, they are only limited to one-on-one duels. After all, unlike soul masters, ordinary soul beasts do not have the idea of gathering together to fight together with their respective territories. But now it's different. Completely different. Under the deterrence of the quacks, they have lost the most basic thinking ability, and they can only obey the arrangement of the quacks and fight continuously until they completely defeat the opponent. After such a thought, it will naturally continue to fight without considering other things. The ape is mighty and tall. Even Fei, who is now fully engraved with the martial soul, can't compare with it. This is for sure, but if it is really single-handed, the current Fei will definitely not be afraid of this ape. After all, with the blessing of Yi Lanshan's soul curse, Fei's current soul power has reached the real level 33 from the original level. This level of soul power can no longer be described as aggressive. Although the opponent is a copy of the perfect surpassing version, but their own soul power level is only more than 20 levels. But their entire staff level has been raised to the top of the current soul power. Is this something they can fight against? The ape stood up, and the hanging arms were almost a meter long. Fei immediately thought that he must be careful with the ape's arms. It shouldn't be a controlled type soul beast, right? Hoo ho ho. The ape patted its chest again and again, as if it was invincible. If it was just the cry of the ape, it would be nothing. The strange thing is that the cry of the ape seems to produce an instant sense of dizziness. This feeling made Fei subconsciously dizzy. Rush. The charming Ninetales replicates the scarlet color of Hulina's eyes. It feels as if just one glance at her can make you lose all combat power and even mobility. Although 7 of the swaying Ninetales are ethereal, but these 7 can bring a very strong sense of oppression. Lord's wings. Yan stepped forward at the moment Fei yelled the red word, and at the same time, the flames on his body spread out instantly, and it could be seen that the dense flames kept gathering towards his back, but in the blink of an eye, it can be condensed into a pair of ethereal flame wings whistling fiercely point at the same time. The place where Yan's whole body left directly rushed to the sky at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Not to mention that the sky is not accurate, although it is also very high in this cave. It still limits Yan's flight and ascent. If this cave is high enough, Yan believes that he will be able to soar into the sky. but in the blink of an eye, Yan had already rushed to the sky above the opponent's copy, and in an instant, countless flames slammed towards the opponent like rain, a dazzling sense of sight, especially the hot flames rolling all over the place. The feeling of stopping makes people feel like the sky is raining fire. Duplicates react faster. First of all, the copy of Zhu Jiangxing. No, there is someone who is faster than him. The moment it faced the flame released by Lord Shang'an's wings, the last flower itself stirred up a layer of something similar to a soul barrier to surround them all, and then copied Zhu Jiangxing. Zhu Jiangxing gathered the Xingyu sword in his hand directly. Yes, he lifted it up directly, and the second soul ring on his body suddenly flashed, and a trace of electric current gradually emerged on the body of the white clothes, and it was gathering. It was that orange-yellow electric current, accompanied by countless sword glows. The second soul ability, that duplicated Zhu Jiangxing's Xingyu sword, was activated instantly. The Sword of Thunder beginning. Zhu Jiangxing, who was preparing to attack on the other side, let out an exclamation. The Sword of Thunder beginning is a soul skill he acquired after he obtained the Sword Bamboo Soul Ring. The original ordinary sword bamboo was absorbed by his Xingyu sword and obtained a mutated attribute. The original ordinary attribute became the attribute of thunder and lightning. And this lightning is still very special and has the nature of soul power attachment. In other words, there is no way to avoid it as long as you have soul power and you are within the attack range of the Thundering Beginning Sword. Then the tier point sword transformed from the Thundering Beginning Sword will always follow you, and its power will also become more and more powerful. Of course, this requires the caster to continue to output soul power. Looking at the densely packed thunder and lightning swords, Zhu Jiangxing never imagined that a clone used more thunder and lightning swords than himself, and looking at this aura, it must have injected a lot of soul power when it was released, otherwise it would be impossible to achieve such an aura. Does it seem that the other party wants to shoot down Yan in an instant? Now it's really troublesome. End of this chapter. Chapter 252 Thundering Beginning Sword. Yan, who was using the Lord's wings, uninterruptedly released fireball attacks, and the dense number was also a great consumption of his own soul power, but the resentment in his heart made him have no intention of stopping. But he was a little surprised to find that the opponent had assembled a huge defensive barrier to almost block the attacks released by his Lord's wings. At the same time, a burst of teardrops rushed towards him along the soul power barrier below, and the force was so strong that Yan felt locked point at the moment when the judgment was made. The yellow Thundering Beginning Sword directly chased Yan at an extremely fast speed. Although Yan wanted to defeat his opponent, he was definitely not the kind of brainless person. He could feel how terrifying the aura flowing above the lightning sword was, so he quickly dodged to the side, and at the same time, released the fists that use the first soul skill to gather flames directly met a thundering sword that was shot towards him at a high speed. Boom. There was a slight contention in the air, and a trace of lightning and flames intertwined in the air. Before Yan could react, another lightning sword rushed towards his head at high speed. His power gives people the feeling that he will never give up until his head is crushed. This is very scary. Damn it, it looks like this ghost thing is going to chase me. Yan fought back while dodging, and at the same time, the scattered flames fell down like a cage and hit the soul power barrier below fiercely. Yan's flying speed was very fast. He flew around the opponent's defensive barrier, trying to draw the opponent's attack to the opponent's defensive barrier with extremely fast turns. But although his idea was very good, the Thundering Beginning Sword, the speed of reaction seemed to be even faster, even if he wanted to distance himself. But in the blink of an eye, the sword of Lei Ming started to follow directly. Yan had no choice but to release his fire fist to resist. Yan looked at the sword that passed by extremely fast in front of him, and the thunderous sword that followed him, and he calmed down a little bit. If it was normal, his fiery temper would instantly raise his fire fist and use the first sword. A soul skill confronted the opponent's defensive barrier forcefully, but now he knew that fighting also paid attention to flexibility. He suddenly pulled himself to the top of the cave, and at the same time, released a ball of flames to attack the opponent. He knew that, no matter how powerful the opponent was, no matter how terrifying the defense barrier was, it couldn't last forever, right? This must be the same as the soul skills of soul masters. It must have a duration. Since there is a duration, then I will last until the end of your attack. Besides, if you compare it with copying Zhujiangxing, Yan's own strength is definitely higher than him. Just from the level of soul power, it is firmly suppressed. And now he also has the blessing of Yi Lanshan's soul curse, which expands this advantage to a certain extent. Although Zhujiangxing's thundering beginning sword is an extremely powerful soul skill, and has the ability to pursue and attack, Yan can easily smash the thundering starting sword, as long as he wants to resist, but he needs to pay more attention to it. Although Yan's attacks are dense, Yan's own flight speed is also extremely fast. The feature of the Lord's wings is that in addition to providing the flame wings needed for his own flight, there will also be a special fireball attack. The fireball attack can reach the speed and range of an extremely wide area, at least about 10 meters. Although the range of 10 meters cannot cover the entire soul fighting platform, it can cover most of the soul fighting platform. In this way, most of the attacks can be restricted, at least the opponent cannot move easily. After all, the density of his own flame balls, the degree is very terrifying. Even the attack type soul masters dare not attack him with such a dense fireball attack, and the attack type soul masters who can fly can attack it. This is obviously not attackable. The attack of the thundering beginning sword is still going on, and its power seems to be weakening. After all, no matter how much Zhujiangxing's soul power can be copied, it can't be improved by external force at all. Such a powerful soul power, the attack will definitely consume one's doubled soul power, so it won't last too long at all. However, the attack of thunder beginning sword continued. Although Yan was still attacking, the opponent's barrier still hadn't disappeared, and there was still an impenetrable momentum. And at the moment, when Yan wanted to continue to attack, suddenly, a very special figure rushed out from that layer of barrier, quickly broke through the barrier, and at the same time, the whole person seemed to merge with the flame released by Yan into one. Exactly the same shadow. This kind of shadow is very special, vaguely much faster than the speed of the soul ability released by Yan. And her actions are extremely weird. She just stepped on the fireball released by Yan and climbed up directly. That series of actions can be described as extremely smooth. Fiery red figure. Yan's reaction speed was very fast, and he found the clue in an instant. It was copying Huorao. The speed and attack power of the most agility attack soul master in copying Huorao seemed to be in direct proportion. He is a teacher, but Huorao's terrifying soul power and soul skill attack power should not be underestimated. Duplicating Huorao and flying in the air, Yan, who was originally flying, was taken aback. Originally, he felt that, no matter how powerful a soul master was, he would not be able to attack him at this height, right? What's more, the other party is a duplicate body, and the duplicates are all familiar existences. He also considered that no one else has the soul skills to attack him from the ground, so it is said that he uses soul skills so unscrupulously. But now this situation can be said to be far beyond expectations. Duplicate Huorao's entire body completely volleying in the air, because Yan sensed that the opponent's attempt was to use his own fireball attack to achieve the purpose of climbing, so he didn't continue to attack and adopted a special method of flying sideways. But what he didn't expect was that the duplicating Huorao actually extended a flame rope, and the flame rope was tied around his waist in a special way. Yan's whole body was dragged by this flame chain go out. Duplicate Huorao didn't have any leverage to move forward, so he directly dragged the flame chain and hung in midair along with Yan. The reason why Yan received this external force caused his body shape to become extremely distorted, and the ethereal flame wings kept flapping back and forth. Yan could only focus on stabilizing his body shape. End of this chapter. Chapter 253 Thundering Beginning Sword. Yan never expected that the opponent would subdue him in such a way. This ability to copy Huorao is indeed very terrifying. The speed and the effect of not being afraid of fire attacks brought by this speed are very terrifying. Her attack or her appearance completely disrupted Yan's original plan and thinking. Yan's thoughts were still very fast. He knew that he had to ask this duplicating Huorao, otherwise he would be restrained. Looking at the flame chain tied around his waist, Yan stretched out his hand to force the flame chain pulling away, but the speed of copying Huorao's reaction is faster than Yan's. Copying Huorao actually chose a way to use Yan as a force point and started to shake crazily. The whole person is like swinging on a swing. It seems that the length of the fire chain she condenses is only this long. No, maybe her purpose is just to contain Yan, make him no longer able to attack with the Lord's wings. Indeed, if her purpose is this, she has already achieved this purpose now. After all, even Yan can't use the Lord's wings if he can't control the balance. He couldn't attack the opponent. After all, if duplicate Huorao stepped on these fireballs and approached directly, it would really be over. It's not that Yan didn't think about using the Lord's wings to release the fireball first to lure the duplicate Huorao to attack upwards. Once the duplicate Huorao starts to climb, he will end the release of the Lord's wings in an instant, so that the opponent will, because it is to use force, to fall directly on the ground. But there are also disadvantages in doing so. Yan considered that it would be really difficult for the other party to continue the chain of flames. Moreover, the speed of copying Huorao was really too fast, and he could definitely attack him in the blink of an eye. This is absolutely certain. Yes, Yan would not take such a risk. Damn it, then I'll hit you against the mountain wall, maybe to see if your agility attack department is stronger than my assault department. Yan cursed angrily, then grabbed the flame chain extending from below and jumped forward to control the real speed. Of course, the speed is not very fast, and the main focus is Yan's own balance. As long as he can perfectly control the balance, he can reach a real volley state. In this state, Yan does not have to be afraid of the opponent's containment. With a distance of less than 10 meters, Yan was already approaching the stone wall without breathing. My colleague's arms full of flesh surged with flames that seemed to be roaring again and again. In an instant, he grabbed the chain that duplicated Huorao and began to slam it wildly towards the stone wall. Go. Because the chain is bound to me, and it is mainly composed of flames, and it even has a sense of integration with Yan's own flames, so no matter how Yan wants to break such chains, it will only take a blink of an eye. Draw flames from his body again, to form a brand new chain. Therefore, the idea of breaking the chain cannot be realized at all. At the same time, copying Huorao will also interfere with it. If there is no really rough method, I'm afraid that copying Huorao will kill you. You won't let go, will you? However, where the duplicate Huorao will really die is still unknown. Boom, boom, boom. Yan crazily threw the duplicate Huorao towards the stone wall. Although his figure was almost close to the stone wall, but because the Lord's wings were crazily pulling towards the back, Yan still didn't hit himself on the stone wall. Yes, but it can also be seen from this point that the opponent is copying Huorao, or the undead Douluo who controls the copying Huorao also seems to have expected that if Yan wants to use brute force, he will follow Yan's violent personality. It will definitely fall directly, and only by falling can the anger in my heart be properly vented. But now Yan really calmed down a lot and was able to think. He knows that he has a very special advantage in the sky. As long as the opponent's duplicate Yan can't come out, then he can completely suppress him. Even if the opponent's duplicate Yan appears, he is not afraid. With the improvement of Yi Lanshan's soul skills, he was also firmly suppressed. Copying Huorao's current state can be described as miserable. The whole person is suspended in the air. One hand is firmly grasping the flame chain and the other hand seems to have no place to rest. But she did not choose to grasp it with both hands flame chains, because she may also know that, if she chooses to do so, the damage she will cause will be greater and more painful. Duplicate Huorao wanted to stick to the stone wall to get rid of Li Yan's crazy attack, but it was not that simple as she imagined. Yan's strength was really too big, but the moment she just wanted to stretch out her hand to touch the stone wall, the whole body people will be drawn back by Yan in the air again. Still letting go? Is there something wrong with copying Huorao's head? Yan's eyes were slightly surprised, and he couldn't help but feel even more astonished when he saw the big hole gradually being knocked out on the cave wall. Is there really no problem with copying Huorao's head? I'm afraid this is unlikely. In his feeling, there is definitely something wrong with copying Huorao's head. Maybe it's because he has no fixed thinking and can only accept the control of the undead Douluo behind him. Such a powerful and crazily knocking her against the stone wall. She didn't even have the slightest idea of letting go. Boom. When Yan was still thinking, Huoro, who had hit the wall and was about to continue to pull back, let go of the hand holding the flame chain in an instant, and the almost distorted face and body appeared in a very strange posture, directly volley towards Yan Yu. Is it the special power of the mutated fire leopard martial soul? No, no matter how powerful the mutated fire leopard is, you can't fly right away, can you? Even if it is flying, shouldn't you use it just now? How can it be used after being beaten? Is this too immature? Could it be that there is really something wrong with my head, and I just recollect it now? Even the real Huoro in the back was stunned. This is my second soul skill, Force Return. Originally, I simply thought that I could use very little soul power to strike the opponent quickly and in a super continuous manner, but I didn't expect it to burst out at such a fast speed. And the power, no, the power of this flame. Could it be? Yi Lanshan on the side seemed to have noticed the clue and then said slowly, that's right, it's like this. The more you are beaten and the more you suffer, the stronger the speed and power you will erupt, and the accompanying soul power will be consumed. Still unchanged, this soul skill is really beyond expectations. It is not suitable for you at all, but it seems to be very suitable. The current situation seems to be really not optimistic. End of this chapter. Chapter 254 Reversal of the battle situation. 1. Huoro's general expression now is at a loss. Yes, at a loss. I'm afraid that, even after trying for so long, she still hasn't discovered that her counterattack spirit ability has such an effect, and such a spirit ability really doesn't suit her, right? After all, she has no place to find a way to try her second soul ability. After all, whoever is fine will not find someone to get beaten, right? Not to mention that none of the 7 of them would beat her, right? Especially in the form of releasing the martial spirit. The battle will never happen at all. Is this a soul skill? Ji-Fei listened from the side and did not do anything extra, but just pulled the blue silver grass lying on the ground like a swimming snake towards the sky. But in the blink of an eye, Ji-Fei controlled the blue silver grass and firmly grasped Yan, who was being attacked by the remnants of the flames. Now Ji-Fei had to drag Yan out of the battlefield first, at least within the range of the opponent. At the same time, Ji-Fei turned his face to look at Ziyu. Ziyu nodded and threw one of the 2 moon blades in her hand. Yes, I read it right. Ziyu directly threw one of her own moon blades, and the range of targets was also very wide. That is, the opponent above the defensive barrier, made of ice crystal blue. This blow consumed at least 1/3 of Ziyu's soul power, and the soul power defense barrier made by the ice crystal blue began to tremble instantly and made a sound similar to mourning, which was a very special sound and not so pleasing to the ear and certainly not harsh. When everyone else was shaking the powerful power of Ziyu's moonblade, Ziyu's whole body had disappeared. No, rather than disappearing, it was better to say that he was standing in the air. That's right. One by one, withered wood vines built a platform in midair, and Ziyu fell on the platform built by withered wood vines. At the same time, Lanyan Ko dragged Yan, who was scratched on his body, and moved it was placed firmly on the platform made of dead wood and vines. Yan, are you okay? Ziyu looked at it from afar, and duplicated Huoro actually rushed over, chasing after the blue silver grass, and rushed towards this side, and she was still constantly attacking the platform and extensions built by the deadwood group vines below. The blue silver grass that came out. But unfortunately, whether it is the deadwood vine or the blue silver grass, under the blessing of the chaotic villain, or after the transformation of the chaotic villain, they have perfectly obtained the special fire immunity attribute, no matter how powerful you are. It's also impossible to burn the deadwood vines and blue silver grass. That's why Ji-Fei felt like doing this. Otherwise, what would Ji-Fei do with so many blue silver grass and deadwood vines? Do you want to close their backs tightly? This is obviously impossible. After all, Ji-Fei's own plan is to secure the victory as soon as possible. Otherwise, if the delay continues, the opponent will not know what special power they will continue to use. In that case, no matter how many advantages they have accumulated, they will lose all of them. Overthrow. After all, Fei has already experienced the undead Douluo's methods just now, and can't be more profound. Duplicating Huorao stretched out her claws. The blazing flames seemed to cover her embarrassment in an instant, and the blood that flowed out from the scars that Yan crazily hit on the stone wall before seemed to be evaporated by the hot flames. This seems to be a very special way of healing, right? After all, it was a temporary hemostasis. It's not a serious problem, but I didn't expect that Huorao girl's soul skills are so powerful. Originally, I had firmly suppressed her opponent, but she seemed to have gone crazy and directly killed me. Those hands even hit me. The fireball attack of the Lord's wings directly tore apart. Hiss, it's really scary. Does this really only have level 22 soul power? Duplicated Huorao arrived in an instant, and she seemed to have a purpose, and she rushed directly to Yan. The surging flame seemed to turn into a flame armor, and in an instant, it seemed that the whole person turned into a ball of flames to resist the attack. Ziyu's blow and slash. Not good. Yan's whole body was exposed to duplicate Huorao's sharp claws, and Ziyu was stunned. He just chopped off the moon blade in his hand, right, but this duplicating Huorao seemed to have turned into a blazing flame and passed through the gap that was only a few centimeters behind him. Incarnate. Suddenly, Yi Lanshan's voice sounded from the side of the camp, and a mass of lush green turned into a phantom, and the place where it formed was still at Yan's feet. But in the blink of an eye, Yan's incarnate body was instantly formed, and it directly blocked the forward route of duplicate Huorao. Even if duplicated Huorao wanted to change the forward route, it would definitely be impossible. After all, the flaming leopard claws she stretched out had already landed on Yan's body. The incarnation of Yan injured this powerful force before he could defend himself, and then pressed firmly on Yan himself, while Yan, who collapsed on the ground, was safe and sound. Just a little surprised by the scene just now. How could this be? It feels like this clone is stronger than me. Just now, it was obvious that a person rushed forward, and Brother Ziyu had already chopped off the blade. But why? Why is there nothing wrong with the clone? And at that moment, it seemed to have completely disappeared. Huoro, who is the real body, has been shocked to the point where she can't believe that the other party is a copy of her. Isn't this amazing? Has such a powerful force. Is it fast? No, it definitely won't be like this. Even if the reaction speed is fast, it can't reach this level. And can the speed be as fast as the real extreme? Besides, can he go through Ziyu slash and continue to pursue Yan? I have to believe my own eyes. If it wasn't for the protection of Yi Lanshan's incarnation soul ability just now, Yan's whole body might have been penetrated by the copy Huorao. Penetrated without reservation. This is no longer fighting. It is completely killing. What? Such terrifying power. Hey, even Huorao herself has completely surrendered. The gap between himself and the clone seems to be too big, right? Or is it that your potential has not been fully developed yet? Can I still learn the power that the clone Huorao used just now? Yi Lanshan thought for a while, then said softly, it's not a big deal. I just turned myself into a flame. Hulina, who was very worried about being possessed, gradually withdrew her gaze. Hearing Yi Lanshan's words, she was also a little puzzled. What does it mean to turn herself into a flame? This is simply impossible. Okay, after all, the saying of being turned into a flame by oneself is still possible if it is said by a soul sage, but the copy Huorao in front of him is only at the level of a great soul master, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 255, Reversal of the battle situation. 2. Fei looked at Yi Lanshan, who was chatting, and just explained a few words through sound transmission, and then he started to implement his plan. Giant crossing. I will flank you in front of you, protect Lanshan and the others' incarnation, and act according to the previous plan. Huorao and Sister Nana's goals remain unchanged. Zhu Jiangxing glanced at Fei and smiled slightly. The lightning flashes in his palm began to gather continuously. He secretly smiled to let the other party truly experience the power of the Sword of Thunder beginning. Nightmare activated. The 15 soul rings on Fei's body complement each other, and the scene is really composed of the soul power of almost everyone present. At the same time, Fei's palm has a dark purple metallic luster. Fei has already done it. Well, the plan to flank the auxiliary plants directly behind the opponent, and the opponent also has the soul ability to restore soul power in a hurry. This is not easy to handle. Yan and Xiao on the other side are gradually suppressing the duplicating Huorao, but the strange thing is that whenever Xiao and Yan are about to attack the duplicating Huorao, the duplicating Huorao will appear directly in another direction. It also blocked the progress of Yan and Xiao. It can be said that if this duplicating Huorao would not disappear so suddenly, and if there was a real frontal battle, Yan might really not be so afraid of the opponent, nor would he be restrained by the opponent. But now this scene is completely different from the expected scene. He and Xiao were both restrained by the duplicating Huorao. He wanted to signal Xiao to quickly dodge the other people who directly attacked the opponent. Here he is here. Just keep it in check. Xiao naturally knows Yan's own thoughts, but whenever Xiao wants to dodge, the copy Huorao will disappear directly, and when it reappears, it is Xiao who wants to leave before. This is really weird. Is it too weird? Even if you have teleportation, it is impossible to use it continuously for such a long time, right? Could it be that there is no consumption of soul power at all? According to Xiao's own rough calculations, during the battle just now, Huorao, the clone, flashed back and forth between him and Yan, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, and appearing almost a dozen times, right? Yi Lanshan stared at this scene. Huorao and Hulina were still standing beside her. This was Jifei's arrangement. It wasn't that Hulina and Huorao were not allowed to take action, but Jifei predicted that the other party would definitely have plans, as long as they were not dead. If Douluo was not stupid, he would definitely attack Yi Lanshan. Yi Lanshan didn't feel any nervousness either. Huorao on the side seemed to be chasing the figure of Zhu Jiangxing in the black mist. At the same time, her tightly knit brows seemed to be constantly thinking about how the duplicate body, Huorao, used it. What kind of method she was thinking about. Even if she was possessed by the mutated fire leopard martial soul, what kind of means could she use to fight? Obviously, it was very difficult. She couldn't think of any way to dodge the force attack of Xiao and Yan in the past, and be able to contain these two people for such a long time. Hulina also seemed to be staring at the extremely difficult battle that Xiao and Yan experienced. After all, the battle between these two people was really too anxious. No matter who came to watch such a battle, 222 level fighters A-level, replica Huorao has to waste so long, and can't win for such a long time. This is even more incredible, doesn't it? Hulina really hoped that the two of them could quickly get rid of this duplicating Huorao. In this way, if the four of them attacked the opponent's camp together, they would definitely lose and win the final victory, but now they are restrained. Yi Lanshan slowly began to explain that, although there was a battle ahead, it was nothing in Yi Lanshan's eyes, and she didn't seem to have the slightest fear that the other party would suddenly attack her. It wasn't overly arrogant, that is really complete confidence. Confidence that she will not suffer any attack. Even if there is an attack, it will not be able to harm her, and also confident that they can definitely win this time. Copying Huorao has mastered the method of using the real mutated flame under the control of Master Undead. That's right, it's not the mutated martial soul, but the mutated flame. Yi Lanshan's words quickly attracted the attention of Hulina and Huorao, who were meeting together. Sister Lanshan, what do you mean by this? It's not a mutated martial soul, but a mutated flame? Isn't the martial soul the prerequisite for using flame? What's the matter? That's right, although I also know that my own martial soul is a very special mutant martial soul, but in my opinion, the mutant flame should also be the effect that a mutant martial soul can bring, right? Yi Lanshan shook her head, and then continued, Wuhan, as the name suggests, was Han. The key point lies in the word Han. Wuhan represents a kind of power that originates from the depths of the soul. Wuhan can be inherited, and also it can be evolved or mutated, but the first thing they need to change is the soul. Jiaoen, the immortal teacher, has mastered such a mutation method miraculously. Although the immortal teacher has not practiced the profession of soul master for a long time, I have discovered many disadvantages about Wuhan or the means to further develop Wuhan. And the scene where the duplicate body Huorao suddenly disappeared is like this. Her sudden disappearance is turning herself into a flame in the gap, and the whole person is turned into a flame. This flame can be integrated into the soul skills released by Yan can also be integrated into the air. Do you think normal attacks can defeat the air? Huo Rao and Hulina shook their heads in confusion. Although the two of them couldn't understand what it meant, it was generally because undead Douluo had mastered another way of using martial souls. Gained the terrifying immunity to attack from the super soul power. Isn't that invincible? No, it will never reach her. Yi Lanshan shook her head. It's impossible if you can't hit it, and it's even more impossible to be invincible. There is no real invincibility. There is only one thing that drops one thing. Didn't you notice that she disappeared more and more slowly? Is the speed getting faster and faster? And turning into a flame will not hide your breath. So as long as you control such a node, you can easily defeat it. But looking at the current situation, both Ziyu and Yan seem to haven't grasped such a pinnacle yet, didn't even discover the clues, just regarded the other party as possessing invincible soul skills. End of this chapter. Chapter 256 Reversal of the battle situation. 3. Since it's in such a recession, why don't you tell my brother and the two of them? If you tell them, the battle will definitely end soon, right? Duplicate Huorao can be transformed into an existence similar to flames. This alone makes people feel a little overwhelmed. After all, if they can't cause damage to the opponent, they will still be restrained by the opponent. This kind of feeling is very bad. Yi Lanshan shook her head. Obviously she couldn't do this. Then she said to Hulina and Huorao, remember the previous battle? The battle with the water and fire crab. Huorao recalled a little bit. She naturally had a deep memory of this. Although the 7 of them succeeded in the end, undead Douluo also pointed out various mistakes that they hadn't noticed. No, it wasn't a mistake that they didn't notice. Then in their eyes, this kind of thing is just something that needs to be paid in battle, right? It can't be considered a mistake at all. Of course I remember that teacher undead was really cruel and scary at that time. I never imagined that teacher undead was such a strict existence. Yi Lanshan smiled slightly. Severe. Well, this is definitely a compliment to undead Douluo. There is nothing wrong with it. It is a kind of praise to undead Douluo. Perhaps what you said is right, but what I want to tell you is not whether the undead teacher is strict or not. Before Hulina and Huorao could speak, Yi Lanshan continued. What teacher undead wants us to do is not necessarily victory. It's not necessarily a victory, shouldn't it? I can't imagine what it would be like if the 7 of us didn't defeat the water and fire crabs. Is it a simple meal? No, I don't think I must stay here safely. After all, the undead teacher at that time was really scary. Huo Rao was obviously still at a stage of confusion about what happened at that time. But this is also a very normal thing. After all, who is not confused when facing such a thing? No, what Lanshan said may be correct. Teacher undead really doesn't necessarily want us to win. Maybe it should be on another level. Even Hulina said that. Isn't this even more confusing? On weekdays, Hulina is definitely not a meticulous girl. Although she is not careless, she is in a real middle-level existence. But even she said so. Why? Yi Lanshan patted Huorao, and at the same time, raised her hand to point to the platform made of deadwood vines and blue-silver grass high above the sky, where Yan and Ziyu were. Look where, if you look closely, you can tell that it looks just like Sister Nana. Huorao frowned. No matter how you look at it, this is the two forces that are in a stalemate, right? And no matter how you look at it, it's their side that will suffer. After all, facing such a clone, both of them are restrained. This is really not a good situation on the platform. Duplicated Huorao retreated while defending. She seemed to have no strength to fight back at all. Ziyu held the moon blade in both hands and didn't even use any soul skills to attack. She only used chopping and chopping, and Yan on the side was the same. Her whole body, every inch of the muscle like Zalon, is full of explosive power, and that kind of terrifying power may cause a certain degree of damage to the opponent, even if it hits the body. Without any soul power, the duplicating Huorao seems to be able to only retreat. How could she retreat when both of them have no soul power attached? Obviously they can turn into flames. Huo Rao seemed to have understood in an instant the matter that Yi Lanshan mentioned not long ago. She felt that she was too dull, right? Can't you even notice this kind of thing? It's really stupid. Yi Lanshan looked at Huorao, who was stunned, and said, "Did you find it? The clue?" Huorao nodded. "I see. Do you need to rely on soul power to feel the range of the opponent's attack?" Yi Lanshan continued, "That's right. Turning into a flame means losing sight and hearing, and if the flame's body is attacked, it will also cause some slight damage to the copy of Huorao's body, so she can only rely on perception. The attack direction of the opponent's soul power is to find a gap that can be dodged, and as we have just seen, this seems to be a state. In this state, the soul power attack will be continuously weakened, which has nothing to do with the consumption of soul power. It should be the drawback of this ability. At the same time, there is another reason I didn't mention. Teacher Undead is indeed not for us to win. After all, the opponents we encounter are existences that surpass us by too many levels. For example, the water and fire crabs we encountered before. Huorao, what did you learn from the battle with the water and fire crab? Huorao thought for a while, and then said, "The importance of cooperation, and the fact that the teammates who cooperate with each other need to understand the effects of their own soul skills is even more important. For example, Langshan's soul skills. Before we didn't know, we have no way of judging yet, but after you say, so we can specify an appropriate method of combat for this." Hulina at the side said, "One more thing, the water and fire crab is not an absolute attack and defense. As long as we attack it, it will fail and die. So what now?" Yi Lanshan saw that the overall situation of the battle had begun to tilt in a disguised form, and it was tilting towards them, which meant that the balance of victory had begun to tilt. "Lanshan, you mean that Master Undead actually wants us to find all kinds of ways to crack each other's abilities? Is it to exercise our speed and adaptability? If Ziyu and Yan can find out in this period of time the opponent's ability is flawed, so he can react so quickly?" "That's right, it definitely looks like this, but from this point of view, it must be different this time from the suppression at the beginning to now, right? Xingxing, exercising our Xingxing. It was obviously over at the beginning, but now it makes us fight again. This obviously wants us to understand that the only way to defeat the opponent is to launch an attack with our own advantages without hesitation reason." Looking at Ziyu and Yan, who suppressed each other constantly, Hulina also understood the idea of Undead Douluo thoroughly. Some things like this kind of battle do not necessarily mean winning, but just learning methods, so that in the future in the real battle don't face failure. After all, the failure here can be repeated again, and the failure of a real Soul Master's battle means real death. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257, Reversal of the Battle Situation. 4. The fragile light green barrier appeared in front of Jifei's eyes. This is a defensive barrier built by the opponent's auxiliary plants, and there are still many traces of flames burning on it. These traces have not dissipated, but are very bright, and if you look at it from Jifei's line of sight, this barrier is already on the verge of shattering, and in this situation, even the most common attack may be able to shatter it. Hiding in the black nightmare mist, Jifei suddenly found that the other party didn't even move. The duplicate Xiao Doyan who was standing in the front didn't take any action, and just stood there, as if his eyes were watching the front. What Jifei knew was that even if they stared ahead, they would not be able to discover what the battle was going on not far ahead. After all, in the Nightmare Soul skill, the opponent would not get any vision and the state of their bodies would be overwhelmed by the Nightmare Black Mist, slowly eating away the soul power, and even the power of releasing the soul skills will be gradually eaten away. This is a very special ability, and it is also a soul skill brought by Izanami's martial soul. Jifei turned back to look at Zhu Jiangxing, who had already passed by, and at the same time there were two people who were suppressing and copying Huorao to beat Ziyu and Yan. Jifei actually told Ziyu and Yan a long time ago that, if they meet each other, if you are a human being, just show weakness and hold back, but even if you show weakness and hold back, don't be too obvious. This is for the sake of Undead Douluo, and it is a kind of blindfold. In fact, the opponent was in a state of silence in this situation, probably because immortal Douluo didn't expect that the situation of the battle would be controlled by Ji-Fei long ago, right? The 16 soul rings on the back of Ji-Fei with level soul power complement each other. Whether it is the coordination of his own soul power or the matching of soul skills and attacks, Ji-Fei can achieve a perfect level, and the soul power consumed can almost be completely exhausted. Completely ignore it. Through this period of fighting, Ji-Fei seems to have discovered that his soul power seems to be inexhaustible forever. As long as it is a battle, no matter what kind of battle it encounters, it can be recovered after the battle is over. Complete soul power. This also made Ji-Fei want to find out how much his soul power needed to bottom out. Now I have got a fairly good answer. According to his current soul power, using the Chaos Martial Soul plus 5 re-engraved martial souls will consume a certain amount of soul power, but it is really difficult to control, such as the martial soul during the alternation, and when the soul ability is released, that special strange feeling makes people feel particularly uncomfortable. Did you not attack Lanshan and the others? Or did Teacher Undead not intend to attack them? Ji-Fei stretched out the deed of the underworld. Pure soul power was gathered in the palm of his hand, and then Ji-Fei slammed it hard on the light green barrier. Just in the blink of an eye, there was a sound similar to glass shattering in the cave, and at the same time, the light green barrier of soul power in front of Ji-Fei's eyes turned into a sharp blade. That's right, every inch of the fragments that fell seemed to contain soul power. The blade of Li directly smashed down. Ji-Fei hurriedly escaped. A blue silver grass twitched instantly. His whole body was surrounded by the shield of soul power, the second soul skill of the green bamboo sword. The sword intent shield instantly activated, and the sword intent of Ji-Fei's green bamboo sword, the shield, is to condense a layer of science sword energy to protect itself, and it can also cause counter-attack when used. The effect can last for 10 seconds and is immune to 90.00% of attacks within these 10 seconds. 90.00% is not percent. The falling debris cut Ji-Fei's clothes, and my colleague also drew several gaps on Ji-Fei's palm, but a burst of scalding heat instantly said that Ji-Fei's wound healed. The possessed form of the Huan Wuhan can emit special heat to forcibly bond the wound together, but in the case of the Wuhan possessed, if the Wuhan possessed is removed, the wound will reappear in an instant. Fortunately, the mutated blue-silver grass was transformed by the Vein of Chaos into a hardness similar to that of steel bars. Although these soul power fragments have cutting power, they cannot be completely cut. With the help of the blue-silver grass, Ji-Fei pulled his colleague who was in the body, and a flickering yellow lightning was also pulled out by the blue-silver grass in the black mist. Then it was Zhu Jiangxing. If it was according to the original plan, it was Ji-Fei. Fei shattered the barrier. Zhu Jiangxing used the ranged soul skill Thundering Beginning Sword to attack, but the plan changed. Ji-Fei did not expect that the shattered barrier would turn into a sharp blade of soul power to fight back against him. Ji-Fei himself also possessed the green bamboo sword martial soul, the second soul skill, sword energy shield, but Zhu Jiangxing doesn't have such a shield, so if he continues to charge forward, he will either die or be injured. This is not what Ji-Fei wants to see, so avoiding the edge is the best choice. Ji-Fei and Zhu Jiangxing were dragged out of the black nightmare mist. Hoo-ho-ho. Suddenly, another roaring and roaring sound came from the black mist, accompanied by the sound of beating. The roaring and roaring sound seemed to be a special deterrent warning, warning Ji-Fei not to approach this side. Even if a soul beast without intelligent thinking is tamed, it will only fight back when it involves territory. I see. Ji-Fei stared at the pitch black ape that rushed out from the black mist of the nightmare. Its fangs in the posture of running on all fours. It was completely ferocious. The speed of this ape is fast. When it caught up with the speed at which the blue-silver grass had left, it stretched out its hand and directly grabbed the blue-silver grass that had left, and the blue-silver grass was just hiding in the ground and dragging Ji-Fei and Zhu Jiangxing. The blue-silver grass. If you know that Ji-Fei and Zhu Jiangxing are both in a state of being suspended from the ground, they will not be able to use their power at all unless they land firmly on the ground. But since the ape is doing this, its purpose is already very obvious. Ji-Fei and Zhu Jiangxing were dragged back by the ape like a kite with strings. The power of the ape is really too strong. It's like an ant is competing with an elephant to trample whom to death. It's really just a joke. Ji-Fei looked down and was dragged back by the ape. This is absolutely impossible, and Ji-Fei will not let such a thing happen. Soon Ji-Fei chose to directly build a platform of dead wood and vines, so that Ji-Fei could regain control of his own initiative. This ape really dare not underestimate it. It is a real soul beast. If it is a clone, as long as you are careful, even if you encounter undead Douluo, you won't really kill him, right? But this soul beast is different. The soul beast doesn't care about your life or death. End of this chapter. Chapter 258, Reversal of the battle situation. 5. The process of building the platform can be said to be a very smooth process. After all, Ji-Fei originally built a thick layer of blue silver grass and deadwood vines from the ground, so if he wants to build such a platform, he does not need to gather again with soul power. You only need to control the martial soul and then have a thought to lift up all the blue silver grass gathered around. This is a very convenient process. Ji-Fei and Zhu Jiangxing landed steadily on the platform built by the withered wood vines. The strength that this built withered wood vines can withstand is relatively optimistic. At least 2 people standing there are no problem at all. It was about 5 or 6 meters away from the ground. Not far away was the platform where Yan and Ziyu were standing. The 2 of them were also attacking and copying Huarao while watching Ji-Fei and the one below. Ape, what kind of scene is this? Soul beast chasing the soul master. The ape grabbed the pillar supporting the deadwood and vines and began to shake crazily, roaring again and again, as if it wanted to throw Ji-Fei and Zhu Jiangxing directly from above. But it's not easy. Ji-Fei stood steadily on the spot. Although he felt shaking, he really didn't feel that he was about to overturn. Isn't this ape too fierce? We were caught by it at such a fast speed. Zhu Jiangxing looked shocked, and at the same time, he was a little thankful that Ji-Fei bound his waist with a rope bound together by the deadwood vine and blue silver grass. If he had just met the broken pieces head on, he might not have died. He is about to be disabled. He has no means of defense. The 2 soul skills are attacking abilities. Ji-Fei had already dissipated the sword energy shield on his body. After all, the sword energy shield can also cause damage to other people. It can be regarded as a combination of defense and attack. The martial soul of the green bamboo sword passed through the chaotic villain. Ji-Fei is also planning to try it, although the 3rd soul ability of the green bamboo sword seems to have undergone a very special mutation. It is not really his fighting type soul skills are not defense type soul skills either. Zhu Jiangxing poked his head while staring at the ape that seemed to be going crazy below. That body that swayed continuously was really stronger than a group of soul masters. I'm afraid that Ji-Fei's own strength could not compare to such an ape. What should we do? I feel a little hypocritical to face such a crazy ape. Zhu Jiangxing looked at his small body. Well, if such a small body faced this nearly 2-meter high ape, he felt that this ape was probably also the type with rough skin and thick flesh, and ordinary soul skills should not be able to harm it. Hurtful. Ji-Fei pointed to the place covered by the black mist, and at the same time, said to Zhu Jiangxing on the side, "It's impossible to break through one by one. It is indeed like this. Facing such a situation, it is impossible to defeat them one by one. Just look at the remaining copies of the other party and you will know this. They have no intention of taking action. They just stare blindly. Ji-Fei and the others have shown weakness so much, but they have no intention of taking action at all. Simply sending out a copy of Huarao and copying Zhu Jiangxing to attack from the inside is not a battle at all. And why did this ape attack Ji-Fei and Zhu Jiangxing? In fact, Zhu Jiangxing should have been an accident. The target of this ape is probably Ji-Fei. After all, Ji-Fei's actions just now can be regarded as stepping into the territory that this ape considers itself. Soul beasts are very territorial, so it's fine. Even if it is not under the control of undead Douluo, this ape will attack Ji-Fei. This should be regarded as the defensive method undead Douluo thought of, right? After all, the combat power of a crazy soul beast will definitely soar. Of course our solution is to deal with it head on. Have you seen it? The other party seems to be fighting in a timid way. We shouldn't use such a method. Look at brother Yan and brother Ziyu. I feel that my plan is superfluous. Since I'm so powerful, do I still pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger? Ji-Fei hesitated for a long time. He felt that Seven Emotions was like a villain type team, yes, but it was not the behavior of the villain, but the arrogant fighting temperament. The auras represented by the 7 of them are all different. As the type who is timid, they have completely hidden the talents of each of them. Look at the side of Yan and Ziyu. The two of them seem to be restraining a copying Hu or Ao, but in fact they are carefully controlling their own power, so that the embarrassed copying Hu or Ao can continue to fight under their hands. Can this be called a battle? It's completely releasing water, and releasing water calmly. Therefore, this kind of fighting style is really not suitable for Ji-Fei and the others. No matter how much Ji-Fei tries, it will definitely be fruitless could be of this type. It seems that I have been thinking too much all this time, right? Fighting is all about going on a rampage. With such strength, I can't think too much, otherwise. Obviously, what Ji-Fei wanted to say otherwise would have such a consequence. That is, their nearly perfect formation would be separated by one or several opponents. Isn't this a point of mistake? Brother Ziyu, second brother Yan, well, there's no need to restrain anything anymore. Show off your peak strength, and the 4 of us will go straight to the center of each other. Don't forget there are 3 of us. Suddenly, Hu Lina's voice sounded from behind, and at the same time, the 3 of them turned into 3 after images, and landed in the very center of the fighting spirit platform. In such a position, they were directly facing that kind of ape, but that ape is like a principled soul beast. The principle to pursue is that there is a wrong and a debt, so it is necessary to find Ji-Fei himself and knock him down. Ji-Fei frowned when he saw Yi Lanshan rushing towards him. As an auxiliary system soul master, Yi Lanshan should be standing behind brush. But in the blink of an eye, an afterimage instantly landed beside the ape below. A pair of sharp dark purple claws directly inserted into the ape's neck abruptly, filled with black mist and slightly flowing hair. What was more conspicuous was that a pair of sharp claws from the deed of the underworld. It was Ji-Fei's incarnation. It turned out that at the moment when Yi Lanshan, Hu Lina and Hu Orao attacked, Ji-Fei's avatar who originally guarded Yi Lanshan also rushed over. As Ji-Fei's copy, although only Ai's enemy however, Wu Han also has a special attached spirit bone, the deed of the underworld. End of this chapter. Chapter 259 Reversal of the battle situation. 6. Ji-Fei's incarnation directly killed the ape with one hand. Yes, without too many fancy movements, just gathered his hands together, and then stabbed the ape's neck. The power of the deed of hell is really strong, it's too terrifying. The sharpness is horrifying to the extreme. Piercing into the hard skin of the ape is like tearing a piece of thin paper. Ji-Fei showed a thick smile. Look, this is the strength of power. A single avatar has such power, so what about him as the main body? It seems that my plan, to use the so-called temptation, is to waste time or bury all the fighting talents that all of them should have, which is really stupid. The huge body of the ape collapsed on the ground in an instant, and the splashed blood turned the blue-silver grass and deadwood vines on the ground into bright red. The blue-silver grass and deadwood vines seemed to feel the breath of blood. It began to twist wildly. The whole vine seemed to be a lot thicker, and a large number of special sawtooths grew on the leaves. That is the symbol only the fully mutated blue-silver grass has. The same principle applies to the withered wood too and vine. Ji-Fei knew that blood would enhance the extension and strength of his blue-silver grass martial soul and deadwood to and vine martial soul. One point is absolutely true from the front, and the power emitted is still very strong, and the group of blue clothes and deadwood vines seem to have their own wisdom, all rushing towards the corpse of the ape. In an instant, the body of the kung fu ape disappeared without a trace, leaving only a purple 1000-year-old soul ring floating in the air alone. Died just like that. It's really a powerful force. Even Ji-Fei himself couldn't help admiring that sentence, not simply admiring the deed of the underworld and the power of the incarnation, but also the engraved blue-silver grass martial soul and deadwood to and vine martial soul, both of which can be compared. It is a very special existence, and the martial soul from different people can reach a higher level of martial soul after being transformed by the chaotic villain again. Ji-Fei looked at Ziyu and Yan, who were on the platform built by withered wood and vines. Before Ji-Fei could tell them, the two of them had already started to use their actions to explain that they already knew what Ji-Fei wanted to tell them. What the hell is going on with them? Death to me. Yan was so angry that the surging flames even burned the platform of Huomian's deadwood vine into black. and traces of sparks penetrated into the deadwood vine. I'm afraid that, if Yan's flames were so powerful, it would be considered deadwood. Fuji is already unable to resist Yan's flame attack, right? With a slash in the air, the two crescent blades pierced directly into Huo Rao's shoulder, and Ziyu's body came to an abrupt stop in the air. Yan's fist filled with flames is even more powerful. The replica Huo Rao seemed to want to dodge, but she suddenly found that the surrounding area was filled with Yan's flames. Even if you use the incarnation flame again, you can't dodge. After all, you are already in such a space full of flames. The range of flames to avoid damage is only about 5 or 6 meters, and the duration is only 2 seconds. After all, this is not a soul skill, but the power of a purely mutated martial soul. It is inevitable. Duplicating Huo Rao is sure to die, but even when facing death, they don't have any special expression. To them, they are nothing more than replicas. A guy copied by a mirror is even a body. There is no soul living in it. This is just a walking dead. Without the control of undead Douluo, even a basic action cannot be completed. The battle is so fast. This belongs to the strength of the 7 emotions. There is no hesitation, no lanoop, only rushing to break through the opponent's carefully researched lanoop. No matter how many people the opponent resists in front, or a few strong attacks in Key King's eyes, a few agility and attack systems are nothing more than destructive, but they can be completely resolved in the blink of an eye. This is their strength. Even Yi Lanshan is not a mere auxiliary soul master. After all, the purpose of immortal Douluo's training of them is to let them further develop their own martial souls, so that their respective martial souls have more powerful abilities. Strength is no longer a single attack type, auxiliary type, or control type, and even in the end, it is necessary to train them all to become one person equal to all soul master professions, so that they can fight as a team by themselves. Of course, this has a very close relationship with the soul ring that you have obtained. After all, soul skills bring the power that soul masters need most. Just like Yan now, he croaked among the corresponding fire-type soul beasts. He chose the Huan, which has the ability to fly. This kind of martial soul endows Yan with the ability to fly and attack. Yan can merge the strong attack and agility attack systems. The agility attack department probably won't be able to follow, right? Of course, it is limited to ordinary agility attack system soul masters. If you meet a soul master like Huo Rao with a mutated fire leopard spirit, the answer is really not so simple. You may become very embarrassed at the same level maybe. It's like this, only kiking like this is the most complete kiking. Its own strength can replace everything. This is the power of a soul master. Still the same sentence. Kiking doesn't need any formation arrangements or any strategy is needed, and the 7 of them are the toughest sharp blades to defeat each other as a powerful defense, no matter who they are. The obstacle in front of him was easily resolved. The 7 of Fei looked at the remaining guys in the Black Nightmare Mist. It seemed that the opponent's auxiliary plants could not activate the soul barrier to defend for the time being, but after thinking carefully, if you think about it, even having a defensive barrier is useless, and it is useless to the strength of Fei's 7 people. Is it still not moving? Well, in the eyes of us kiking, tricks or traps are just children's play, and they have no meaning at all. Depression. The purpose of Fei's sound transmission to Yi Lanshan was also very accurate, and what he needed to do next was naturally to get Yi Lanshan's help. The display of power, the display of the power of the 7 emotions. These 2 goals must be clearly seen by undead Douluo. What is the real power that they should have to inherit the name of the 7 emotions? End of this chapter. Chapter 260 Hualien and -039 S Silent Heart 1. Talent. The talent of a soul master. In Fei's eyes, what a soul master's talent represents is nothing more than a manifestation of what age a person can reach, what level, what kind of soul ring configuration, and his own combat power. Several aspects can be used to judge whether a soul master has the talent to continue to practice. There has never been a word of hard work to make up for one's weakness in soul master cultivation. The talent of soul masters is mainly cultivated. Diligence may make up for one's weakness, but that will only be in the future. Now it is inevitable no. Each of Fei and the 7 of them is different, but one thing is for sure, each of them has absolute talent. Why do people with such absolute talent choose to deal with each other? The answer is also very simple. That is, I don't know what method the Soul Master should use to deal with and defend in the battle. That's right, this is the point. Although Fei has a powerful martial spirit, he feels that if he fights, it is enough for one person to defeat 7 opponents. However, he is also a little worried that the opponent will set a trap or pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger. After all, this kind of horror is not something ordinary people can bear. Although the battle on the fighting spirit platform is generally not allowed to kill you, but if the other party really kills you, what will you do? You are all dead. What else can you do? To put it simply, it is to accept fate. Fei also understood thoroughly that their 7 emotions wanted to make others accept their fate and let others know how uncomfortable it is when the terror of death befalls them. This is the Soul Masters who declared to fight 7 emotions. How ignorant they are all. It is not a pity to die. As the first mover, Fei rushed to the front together with the 2 gorgeous purple rays of Fei's avatar that turned into sharp blades that pierced through the opponent. Yes, he went straight to kill the opponent without the slightest hesitation, especially Fei. The 15 soul rings behind Fei exuded bursts of light, as if 15 soul skills had been released at the same time. That terrifying power seemed to disintegrate the entire cave, as long as the attack was released the next moment. Although Fei, the incarnation, only possessed Izana's martial soul, the power of the deed of the underworld was too powerful. The power that erupted in an instant could kill a 1000-year level ape in seconds. This level of power is almost comparable to the power produced by a 4-ring soul master when he releases a 3-ring soul skill, right? Ziyu and Yan also rushed up, but their impact became very special. Yan grabbed Ziyu and flew directly into the sky, arriving at the center of the opponent. Yan let go of Zi's hand instantly. Yu's whole body fell down, and it was very important to control the balance in this one, but this point was very simple for Ziyu herself. The 2 Moonblade martial souls have largely balanced Ziyu's entire body in an extremely stable state, so there is no need to worry about this at all, and Ziyu does it quite a bit. The courage to put it to death, and then live again. The place where Ziyu fell was directly the plant of the opponent's auxiliary system, and at the same time, when Ziyu fell, he quickly closed his eyes. He knew his sister Hulina's soul skills very well, and the most terrifying thing was it is the first soul skill Humei. This soul skill can control you in an instant and you will suffer from dizzy vision for a period of time. These 2 points are very important for a soul master who is fighting. If the blow is not well controlled, it will easily lead to a situation of falling into a local trap. And in the process of falling, Ziyu adjusted her body into a slashing knife posture by virtue of her control over her martial soul and body, and the blood-red moon blade in her hands, tensed up instantly became even stronger. It became scarlet, and a somewhat transparent sense of deja vu gradually spread. Moonblade's second soul skill, Poisonous Moon Fang. The Fang of the Poisonous Moon is Ziyu's second soul skill. It is a soul skill obtained after obtaining the Dark Moon Miasma Beast. The effect of the soul skill is also very special. It is instant death, and when it is used, it can launch a range of venom through blade attacks. Moon Slash will cause a certain range of venom attacks on the opponent. The existence of the name, and although it is said to be poison, its main function is to corrode, and through corrosion, it can instantly destroy the opponent's mobility and even vitality. But when Ziyu's whole body was about to be slashed at the moment of treating auxiliary plants, suddenly, the replica Hulina in front flew up and down with 9 tails swaying up and down, and her whole figure became much taller, and an invisible special aura was continuously waving in the air, which can be seen from the outside. Duplicating Hulina used the second soul skill of the Yaohu Wuhan, the power of a nearly 1000-year soul skill, the Silent Mind. Hulina, who was advancing, was a little bit stunned when she saw the soul ability that the clone Hulina was using. Doesn't the second soul ability also require eye contact to activate? Why is that duplicating Hulina activated now, and also block the path of Ziyu's whereabouts? Is it a conservation helper plant? Obviously it won't be such a simple matter. Suddenly, Ziyu opened his eyes, and his whole body fell down in a strange posture, and the moon blade, which was originally brightly red, suddenly dimmed, and the next moment, when he was wondering, a pair of scarlet and extremely charming eyes in front of Ziyu's eyes, Ziyu's whole body fell from the sky in an instant, as if the light of day seemed to be unable to dissipate in front of Ziyu's eyes for a long time. Ziyu's whole body collapsed on the fighting spirit platform. This is Ulina's second soul skill, Silent Mind. The effect is very simple and powerful. It can directly imprison the opponent, no matter what kind of defensive soul ability the opponent is using. Only this soul ability can instantly imprison him, and it's just the first effect of this soul skill. The second effect of the Silent Heart is also very powerful. No, it should be said that it will definitely make people feel incredible. Eliminate all the soul skills currently used by the Soul Master. That's right, no matter how powerful the opponent's soul skills are, you only need to use a Silent Mind to completely dissipate the opponent's soul skills. Duplicating Hulina seems to have really used an incredible method to make Ziyu, who broke into it, suffer a big loss, but Ziyu herself is very puzzled. But together with Hulina herself, she is extremely puzzled in her heart. Is this the case? It feels completely different from the soul skills Hulina used herself. End of this chapter. Chapter 261 Hulina and -039 S Silent Heart 2. Silent Heart. No one expected that the duplicated Hulina could use such a soul ability. Isn't this really unexpected? From the point of view of the special degree alone, the effect of this second soul ability is not comparable to that of most 10,000-year soul skills. It is absolutely like this, no matter how you look at it. Imprisonment for a moment may be possible with many soul skills. For the time being, we can only consider that the second soul skill is special. Then the next thing is to eliminate the soul skills used by the current Soul Master. This point it was the scariest one, and it was precisely because of this that copying Hulina's spirit ability attack that eliminated the poisonous moon's tooth used by Ziyu fall in the blink of an eye. But what Hulina and Ziyu wondered was not about the power of the soul skill of the Silent Heart, but how it would be activated. How could it have the effect on Ziyu's body? When Ziyu fell, she relied entirely on her familiar body feeling to adjust herself, and Ziyu felt that what he did was very appropriate in terms of defense and copying Hulina's soul skills. Closing the eyes can block Hulina's first soul ability, Humena's second soul ability, which also requires the eyes to be activated. So how did Ziyu, who just closed her eyes, be controlled by copying Hulina? Is it just because the power possessed by the clone is very special? It can't be such a simple thing, right? It's the air, no, or the friction between the soul power and the air that is sucked into the body from other 5 sense organs will also produce this effect, and the speed of effect is even faster than the effect produced by eye contact. It needs to be done quickly. This point is really unexpected horror. Directly eliminate the attack, and then because the opponent is surprised, you have to open your eyes to analyze the situation in front of you, and then activate the fox charm in an instant to control the opponent again. Yi Lanchen analyzed the current situation very calmly. As she said, under the control of immortal Douluo, copying Hulina can be regarded as the most perfect control of one soul ability and the use and coordination of multiple soul abilities. How to achieve a perfect level? This seems to be hitting, but it is also a kind of teaching and warning. Right, let Fei and the others know that their own soul skills can explode even more powerfully in his hands. Ziyu passed out directly, depending on the situation. Yes, the double dizziness and confinement caused him a huge mental bed, and he lost the ability to think in an instant, but his body seemed to be electrocuted, and there were subconscious convulsions. Actions a repeated point. If it is a real life and death battle, Ziyu is dead at this moment, and cannot die anymore. His previous prediction was very good. It is to directly capture the life of the opponent's auxiliary system from above, so that he will be the general directly. Among them, Ziyu is Yan, who is most familiar with Hulina's soul skills. Yan needs to help Fei and Zhu Jiangxing resist the other 3 people on the other side, so it can only be captured by a soul master of the attack system like Ziyu. The other party assisted the action of the planned point, but judging from the current results, this is undoubtedly a failure. But it doesn't matter. Hulina suddenly looked at Fei, who was fighting fiercely. Yes, on the other side, Fei had already fought against duplicate Ziyu, and Fei was assisting in his incarnation. Fei kept changing his soul skills: fire attack, sword key attack, poison attack, blue and silver grass entanglement, deadwood and vine swallowing. The powerful beast spirit fire cloud crane endowed Ji-Fei with the power to fly completely. He firmly suppressed the copying ZU exuding Ling Ran's aura. Copying ZU, the strength of you is that the reaction is too fast. In the blink of an eye, a venom splashed directly towards Ji-Fei. Ji-Fei had to dodge it. The ground where the venom fell instantly collapsed. Look, this is the highly poisonous venom of the Dark Moon Miasma beast. If it is contaminated, it may lose a layer of skin, even if it is not dead. Ji-Fei attacked while dodging, and while the flames were flying, he also looked at the fainted ZU. The remaining people on the other side were also caught in an anxious battle. Generally speaking, Ji-Fei's side was completely suppressed, but the opponent is not bad. The soul power seems to be inexhaustible. The auxiliary plant emits a faint light. No need to look. It must be the effect of this plant. Trapped here, Ji-Fei dare not directly touch and copy ZU. Copying ZU is like being wrapped in a layer of black venom. The original sharp blade has become a genuine poisonous knife. The horror of the poisonous knife comes from the corrosive venom. Langshan, can you just tell Sister Nana to go forward and eliminate the opponent's soul ability? Doesn't she have such power herself? She has to go forward and try. Ji-Fei stretched out the deed of the underworld and ruthlessly took the copy of ZIU to the other side. In an instant, Ji-Fei's deed of the underworld was stained with a layer of dark venom. Don't forget that Ji-Fei also has the Dark Moon Miasma, the martial soul of a beast, but when facing such venom, it is not fusion, but the opponent's venom suppresses itself. If you know that Ji-Fei is at the 40th level, but it is really difficult to deal with such venom, maybe the flames of the long-range attack can easily solve it. Langshan, are you wondering why I don't let you help yourself? It's very simple. We can't decipher Hu Lina's silent mind. Is that so? After the simple conversation ended, Yi Lanshan patted Hu Lina and told her about Ji-Fei's plan. There are not a few people like Ji-Fei who can still talk in such a calm battle. Why did Ji-Fei suddenly become calm? The answer is very simple, because Ji-Fei is going to do it for real. Flying sword. A purple soul ring among the 15 soul rings on Ji-Fei's body suddenly lit up, and at the same time, an invisible sword energy quickly transformed into a green bamboo sword. The green bamboo sword exists exactly the same, and this is the third soul skill of Ji-Fei's re-engraved Wuhan green bamboo sword. The third soul ring is from the Millennium Fog Demon, but it can bring flying soul skills to the green bamboo sword Wuhan. Flying is a pilot. As long as you add sword energy, you can condense a green bamboo sword and flying sword, and you can fly directly. Well, this is a very convenient soul skill, whether it is fighting or running. End of this chapter. Chapter 262 Hu Lina and -039, S Silent Heart, 3. The third soul skill of the green bamboo sword martial soul, Eugean flying, was discovered by Ji-Fei himself by accident. The replica martial souls used by Chaos Villain are almost all special soul skills, and some replica martial souls can't even using soul skills. I don't know what's going on. I have to say that, as long as they can be used, each soul skill is a very special existence. Powerful power, special ability, all coexist. Hu Lina was surprised to find that she was stepping on a flying sword that touched about 3 feet. Although the sword is very narrow, it feels very stable, as if you can still stand if you move your feet. It was on the green bamboo sword, but in an instant, her whole figure began to fly towards the sky, and even the target was determined, which was the place where ZU fainted. She looked at Ji-Fei in surprise. Is this also a soul skill? Can fly, and what's even more strange is that she doesn't even need a trace of soul power. Eugean's flying soul skill is like this. Others consume Ji-Fei's own soul power. It can be said that, as long as Ji-Fei's own soul power is sufficient, he can achieve long-term Eugean flying, and it is also the soul power enough, then anyone can fly. This seems to be a good auxiliary soul skill, but for Ji-Fei, it is an excellent soul skill for playing cool. Other people's methods of pursuing soul skills are of course powerful or practical, but it is different for Ji-Fei. He has many re-engraved martial souls, so he doesn't have to worry about the practicality of the soul skills. In fact, he doesn't have to worry about its soul. This is obviously impossible. The green bamboo sword flew up, and Hu Lina attacked ZU's fainted team with extreme speed. After Yi Lanshan told her, she also knew that only her own soul skills could save her brother. Special Vixen, no matter who comes forward, they will definitely be knocked out, right? How did the copied me allow the soul ability that can only be transmitted with the eyes to be released into the air? Can it be activated without line of sight contact at all? How is this done? Although the time is short and urgent, Hulina herself needs to think carefully about such a problem. Ziyu has passed out and cannot open her eyes, so she also needs to learn the ability to activate soul skills without touching the line of sight. But obviously it's not that simple. On the contrary, it's very difficult. What Lanshan is talking about is air, which emits the special aura that a martial soul should have, and can produce the effect of soul skills from the opponent's 5 sense organs. You can smell it, even if you close your eyes, and you can't smell it, even if you can't see it. You can also hear it, even if you can't hear it again, you can still feel it. The soul skill that faces my silent heart without oppressive soul power will definitely be hit, right? Just when she was about to land on the opponent's soul fighting platform, Hulina suddenly remembered how to copy Hulina's last minute movements before. The tail behind her demon fox martial soul shook. This must be related to the silent heart and fox charm. There is a connection between the variation of the effect of the soul skill. Yes, it should be obvious from this point. This is not an easy thing. Hulina's martial spirit is released instantly. She won't go down. After all, standing on it can guarantee a little safety. Even if copying Hulina wants to use the silent mind breaker to fly with her sword, but Hulina herself can also quickly use your silent mind to counteract it. Feeling the feeling of great oppression. This is a feeling that Hulina has never experienced when releasing her martial spirit before. This is a very subtle feeling, and she seems to be unable to describe what this subtle feeling is like, but the only thing that is certain is that this subtle feeling comes from the 2 solid white tails swaying behind. The power of the 2-tailed demon fox. Hulina's martial soul is very powerful as a very special demon fox, especially the power that resides in it after possessing the fox tail is extremely powerful. It is precisely because of this that copying Hulina can change the original soul skills. The activation limit is replaced by the activation limit of the soul ability she wants to use. This is a reason why Hulina can use the silent mind to hit the closed-eyed Ziyu. Here comes another one. The other part is current thoughts may be so simple, but in the blink of an eye, Hulina raised her head and looked at Hulina herself. The tail of the phantom behind her began to shake slightly, and Hulina felt a wave of dizziness. The sense of sight, the feeling of wanting to fall from the green bamboo sword is too real, and at the same time, her own movements seem to become very stiff and stiff. And even ordinary actions like raising her hand seem to be difficult for her, very difficult. However, she maintained the last sliver of clarity and reason, and her reaction speed was also very fast. In the blink of an eye, she hastily used her second soul skill Silent Mind to cancel out Hulina's Silent Mind copied by the other party. Consumed soul power. Hulina's own soul power was consumed so much by simply offsetting the opponent's soul skills. Isn't this really terrifying? I have to say that the consumption of soul power from a single point of view is so special that it is like using your own soul power to make up for the soul power consumed by the opponent's soul skills. Although the opponent's soul power will not recover and the soul power will not be restored, skills will disappear, but at the same time, your own soul power will also be consumed a lot. This can be regarded as a shortcoming of the silent mind. Well, it is a big shortcoming. Once the soul power required by the opponent's soul skills increases, if you want to offset it, you need to consume more soul power to offset it. Copying Hulina seems to have found that it has no effect on Hulina itself, and is still above the sky, so it is really not so easy to deal with her. Soon, the copied Hulina seems to have found a new target. The green bamboo sword under Hulina's feet. That's right. As long as this soul ability is eliminated, Hulina will definitely fall from the sky. If this is the case, another teammate from the opposing camp will fall. Has there been a turnaround? As an existence of immediate action, the copy of Hulina quickly met the green bamboo sword under Hulina's feet, and when he used it, another soul skill on his body also flashed, and his eyes met Hulina's second soul, which symbolized the silent heart ring has other goals. No, or it should be said, that the idea of hitting the target is achieved in another form. End of this chapter. Chapter 263 Huliena and -039 S Silent Heart 4. The purpose of duplicating Hulina is very simple, and it is also the best way to get rid of Hulina herself. It is also the purpose of the entire replicating population. When the silent mind was activated in an instant, the swaying tail behind Hulina was like soft silk. Just looking at it for a moment makes people fall into it and constantly sighs. How can there be someone in this world that looks so silky? What about the submissive existence? And I was lucky enough to see such a scene. The goal of copying Hulina is to eliminate the green bamboo sword that Hulina is stepping on. As long as the green bamboo sword dissipates, she will fall down on her own. Hulina in the sky was caught off guard. Humeli of the first soul skill obviously wanted to control Hulina first, making her mistakenly think that he was trying to control her, but the actual purpose was to make her fall from the flying sword first, and then produce the necessary control. Coming to Hulina, she was defeated by the copying Hulina, and other people can't help Hulina in this regard. After all, the means of eliminating the currently used soul skills can also be effective for other people. Besides, Jifei and the others are still fighting. Although it is a steady suppression, in Jifei's own opinion, now is the time for Hulina to solve it by herself. The seemingly 7-on-7 battle should actually belong to each of them. It's just a one-on-one fight. It can be seen from the actions of immortal Douluo. No, or there is such a tacit understanding between undead Douluo and Jifei. Jifei wants to make them stronger, and the same undying Douluo also wants them to become stronger, so the tacit understanding between the two is through the opponent. Pressure to make them realize the truly powerful power that their martial spirit and soul skills should have. Using this formidable power to defeat the opponent through his own suppressed soul power, so as to win the final victory, is Jifei's main purpose. The battle should be over when Fei and Tang rushed up, and undying Douluo actually had such awareness, so the copy Xiao and copy Yan in his hands didn't have any plans to take action, simply stand where you are. If everyone's incarnation body appears, it will be a complete 13-to-1 situation. After all, even Jifei's incarnation Yi Lanshan can be released now, and with the blessing of Yi Lanshan's soul power, their soul power is at a low level. For the existence above level, it is useless to calculate that the opponent has really cultivated the martial soul to the extreme, but the level cannot keep up. So Jifei has explored the idea of immortal Douluo since just now. One-on-one. That's right, one-on-one, using his own strength to let them fight one-on-one. Jifei felt that what undead Douluo said before was not wrong. Kai King belonged to the other 7 people. Even though he and Yi Lanshan bore the name of Kai King, they actually seemed to be a little different from Kai King. Individuals should jump out of such a bondage, and it is not an exaggeration to say that they are at the teaching level. Their duty in the team is not to fight, but to help them grow. Jifei thought for a while that he was only a 7-year-old child, so he had to take on such a responsibility. Of course, the thinking ability is definitely beyond the existence of 30 years old, but immortal Douluo's trust in Jifei himself also makes him somewhat touched. PFFT. Backfired. The moment Hulina's eyes met the green bamboo sword at Hulina's feet, the green bamboo sword not only did not disappear, but a mouthful of blood spurted out from Hulina's own body, and the soul power of the whole person dissipated instantly. Standing on the spot after a while, he collapsed directly to the ground. Backlash. Hulina was sure that the copying of Hulina just now encountered the backlash of her own soul skills. At the same time, Hulina's eyes were on Jifei, who had already resolved the battle. It is very easy for Jifei to deal with the copying evil moon. Although the opponent is also very powerful, relying on the involvement of the Huiyan martial soul and the attack of the devouring flames does not need to touch the copying evil moon to cause damage to the opponent. And the copying Xiao, who can't fly, can't attack Jifei, even if he cuts out several poisonous moon tooth soul skills. Yan and Zhujiangxing attacked Du and Yan and Zhujiangxing from the side. Yan and Du and Yan were flying at the top of the cave. They didn't release the flame attack behind the Lord's wings. After all, both of them were flying in the sky. Therefore, the fight between fist and soul power plus controlling stability during flight became the goal of the two of them fighting. As long as whoever can't control the node like this will fail, and it will also be hit hard by a huge fist with flames. That feeling is very uncomfortable. But in the confrontation between the two, Yan seems to be superior, not because of his soul power, but because of his flying skills and the range of flames, and he has firmly suppressed the original. Duplicating Yan with high breath is surprising. Ha 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 ha, die to me. The copied guy will never compare to my real body. Yan slammed a fist on the face of Duan Yan, and that punch directly scattered the flames attached to Duan Yan's body. Yes, it was completely broken up, and Duan Yan's entire face it became extremely distorted, and the body shape was directly smashed from the air to the ground. If there is no accident, the whole person must be completely embedded in the ground in the dust that was raised. In any case, it is also a copy of myself, but Yan's methods are too cruel, right? Doesn't this make his face look like this in disguise? This is completely self-destructive image. When Jifei saw this scene, he was very thankful that immortal Douluo couldn't simulate his own copy, otherwise, it would be really ugly when his auxiliary body was killed in a panic, right? It's like completely abandoning your own image on the ground and stomping hard with your feet. This is not good. In fact, the more delicate battle is the battle between Zhu Jiangxing and his own clone. It's not just a fight to the flesh, but a real competition in strength. This kind of competition that comes from strength is particularly delicate. Wonderful. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264 Huliena and -039, S Silent Heart, 5. Zhu Jiangxing's battles are very delicate. Compared with Yan's rough feeling of punching to the flesh, the sword energy between Zhu Jiangxing and Zhu Jiangxing, who copied Zhu Jiangxing, is even more extreme. In particular, a part of the distance around them seems to have become the exclusive venue for the collision of the sword energy of the two. It is normal for those who get close to be cut by the sword energy or even die. In the palm of Zhu Jiangxing's palm, the thunder and light movie kept flipping, and the crackling sword energy exploded from the air. The original simple and unpretentious sword energy seemed to have been sublimated in an instant. It is worth mentioning that this originally simple and unpretentious sword energy key is such a special power that he only possesses after receiving the blessing of his second soul skill, the thundering beginning sword. But the other part he copied Zhu Jiangxing, but he didn't have such a thunderous sword aura, and he used the exaggerated sword aura before. Zhu Jiangxing's subjective feeling before was that this sword aura is indeed very terrifying, but looking at it now, it is the same as the palm of his hand. Compared with the leaping thunder and lightning sword aura, it is really far behind, and he feels that the most terrifying sword aura can defeat his sword aura, which is not like this. It should be like the sword that Jifei once held in his hand. In his opinion, only that sword can defeat the sword in his hand and the sword intent emanating from himself. The sword intent under his control is the most terrifying, and the lightning sword intent he has accumulated in his hands is incomparable to Jifei's sword intent in terms of momentum and strength. At one time, Zhu Jiangxing thought that Jifei was definitely a master of swordsmanship. He even felt this from the first time we met, and Jifei still had that special introverted sword aura, and the powerful power was hidden. Yes, Jifei himself will burst out with great strength only when he encounters danger or difficulty. But in fact, this is already the most real point he can see, and from this point of view, combined with Jifei's previous battles, Jifei does have a powerful flying sword spirit. Jifei once explained that his enemy spirit has the characteristics of simulating a spirit, but the simulated spirit is not as powerful as the real spirit, so he felt that Jifei must have encountered it before. A soul master with a very powerful sword spirit. From Zhu Jiangxing's point of view, this is definitely what it looks like. It is precisely because of the powerful martial soul and strength of the soul master of the sword martial soul, coupled with Jifei's simulation characteristics, that he has the terrifying sword intent that is now contained in Jifei's body, even the sword he is proud of. Even Xingyuji and Wuhan couldn't match that special sword intent. No matter how powerful your sword intent is, it's nothing more than that. What I pursue is a sword intent that is stronger than mine, so I can't lose. Even if I meet a more powerful soul master, as long as I compete with the sword intent I won't lose. If I win, I can't lose. Zhu Jiangxing waved one hand, and at the same time, the Xingyu sword that was floating above his head actually landed in his hand. It seemed that he felt the touch of Zhu Jiangxing's own sword intent, and the whole body of the Xingyu sword became clearer and brighter. And there are quite a few starlight dots visible on the hilt of the sword. It seems that this inch of starlight floating point contains powerful soul power. While copying Zhu Jiangxing, he raised the long sword in his hand, as if he wanted to resist Zhu Jiangxing's Xingyu sword attack, and at the same time, he had a ferocious expression that had never been seen in other copies. Does this seem to be the influence of the sword? Maybe it really is like this. Zhu Jiangxing didn't mean to dodge even half of it. His eyes were full of determination and he didn't flinch in the slightest. This might be the power brought by his own strength. When a person has determined his goal, he is originally strong. Your power will be further improved, and this powerful power will always be with you. The sword marks touched by the electric light and flint split apart instantly, and at the same time a trembling sound rang out. The copy of Zhu Jiangxing's figure suddenly backed up, and the flickering thunder followed the flashing thunder, and lightning at the moment when the two sword martial souls were handed over. Then it spread to copy Zhu Jiangxing's whole body. The Xingyu sword in Zhu Jiangxing's hand shattered in an instant. Instead of being turned into fragments, it directly turned into an invisible halo and dissipated in the air. At the same time, the copied Zhu Jiangxing's figure also began to dissipate without a trace, like a shattered mirror. There is no fancy battle process, but the terrifying sword intent that exists between Zhu Jiangxing and Zhu Jiangxing, the powerful force that is constantly released, really makes people feel how terrifying the power of a swordsman is. It exists, and it turns out that the sword intent is so wonderful. Zhu Jiangxing was panting heavily. The full blow just now not only consumed a large part of his soul power, but also had an inexplicable feeling of emptying out, which made his whole body very weak and tired. Maybe this is the special feeling released by the sword intent. A powerful force needs to be supported by an even stronger force. Huora on the side was also a little surprised seeing this scene, but she didn't dare to hesitate, because she always believed that Zhu Jiangxing would be able to overcome all difficulties and become a real strong man, because that was the agreement between the two of them. It was an agreement they made together standing on a mountain peak, where they could see the two sects at the same time. Ji Fei also looked at Yi Lanshan with a slight smile. Yi Lanshan chuckled. This is the special tacit understanding between them. There is no need to say anything, and at the same time they don't need to feel anything. The battle seems to be over like this. No, there is one last point, that is, the duplicate Ulina that Ulina and Ziyu encountered. Ziyu seems to have woken up. Yes, it seems that Ulina has mastered the method of activating her own soul ability Silent Mind without touching the line of sight. In this way, even if the opponent closes his eyes or deliberately defends, he can easily control the opponent. At the same time, as the existence with the first soul elimination ability, Ulina will become more important in the team in the future. Very special. But this is also Ulina's own luck. After all, she has such power that will always belong to her. Does it exist sincerely? Ji Fei and his group seem to understand this truth, and at the same time Ji Fei has gained more, and Ji Fei has a special lancer in his heart, whether he encounters a soul beast or a soul master in the future battle. End of this chapter. Chapter 265 Ulina and -039 S Silent Heart 6. The effect of the silent mind itself, after offsetting, has also disappeared. Ziyu has awakened, and he is a little at a loss. It seems that he is almost lacking in the memory of just now, but when he saw Ulina at the side it seems to understand something. Maybe the battle is over. Copying Ulina was backlashed by his own soul skills, which was caused by his own cleverness. Ji Fei released a large part of the soul power on the flying sword, so copying Ulina wanted to use his silent mind to offset it. In other words, you need to use the same soul power, but Ji Fei's soul power can copy the existence that Ulina can't match, so it caused her own backlash. Brother, we won. At least that's what Ulina, who was standing above the sky, said with a different smile on her face. I won. I really won. I never thought that we would be able to win the final victory after the opponent's crazy crush. The other party only had a support system plant and no combat power left, so Fei didn't seem to want to take action to solve it. After all, this is considered a millennium level, right? It is not easy and troublesome to be able to grow to this level, and none of them need a soul ring, so let's keep it. The joy of winning? It doesn't seem to be much. On the contrary, I think more about the battle in front of me. Fei looked indifferently at the soul fighting platform in front of him, and the messy ground, all of which indicated that the battle just now was not in fantasy, but something each of them had experienced. Victory is something in the bag, but it is a special method used by the undead teacher before that made us suppressed so miserably. If we have the same masters, it is impossible for us to lose, and you seem to be, too. Have you confirmed a lot of things? Looking at Yi Lanshan from the side, Fei smiled slightly. It seemed that Yi Lanshan really couldn't hide anything, but there was nothing to hide from the two people who were in the same heart. I feel that I have determined a goal of becoming stronger, or I have such a rough judgment on the future path of cultivation, and I feel that the future path will not be so easy. Yi Lanshan nodded, and then said, but it doesn't matter, I will always be by your side, and, you are still so young, don't be so old-fashioned, okay? Just treat things rationally like an immortal teacher. Fei waved his hands wildly, expressing his refusal. I can't learn the tricks of the immortal teacher. The guy who is greedy for money is just a hard-headed cock, but it is undeniable that he is indeed a good teacher, teaching us during this period of time. We really learned a lot. At least I learned a lot of knowledge and goals of soul masters. The excitement of the others has not diminished at all, just like the super aura they exuded when they faced these clones for the first time. At the same time, the opponent blocked them directly in the trapped column, and now they counterattacked and won the victory. It's all like a dream, and I don't dare to believe it. Zhu Jiangxing has learned how to turn his Xingyu sword into a long sword weapon, and has the idea that comprehending sword intent is better than manipulating soul skills. On the one hand, he has already started to be far ahead, and it is only a matter of time before he becomes strong. Especially Hulina. Hulina's original soul ability can only be activated by contacting the opponent's line of sight, but now it has become completely different. As long as it is within a certain range, no matter how you dodge it, you can't dodge it. Perhaps Ziyu was the one who was more miserable in this battle. His own misjudgment caused him to be deeply trapped in the opponent's camp. The sense of tacit understanding made Fei temporarily give up the simplest, most effective and convenient method, and instead adopted the more troublesome Hulina. The effect of the blue-silver grass and deadwood vines buried on the ground is excellent. Even if the soul ability can be eliminated within a certain range, it can only eliminate part of the blue-silver grass and deadwood vines. This will not play any fundamental role at all. After all, the growth speed of the blue-silver grass and the deadwood group vine is fast by the machine. Fei predicted that undead Douluo would definitely point this out this time, but it didn't matter. The result was victory, and Fei had already thought up an excuse for Ziyu, which was definitely a well-founded excuse. Fei is not a fantasist, and if he wants to tell lies in front of undead Douluo, how could he not know? Boom. Accompanied by a soft sound. Yes, with just such a slight sound, the mirror of the soul guide in front of him turned into half of the phantom fragments, and then disappeared into the air, which surprised Fei a bit. If you like undead Douluo, don't say they smashed it, otherwise, this thing must be very expensive, right? Maybe they can't afford it. And when the mirror of the soul guide was broken, as expected, there was a cave entrance at the back, which seemed to lead to the outside, but it was not certain. After all, no one knew whether this was leading to the next dangerous place. I passed both trials, but I don't know the result. Let's go. We've wasted a lot of time here. Fei's proposal was always correct, and the group of people immediately entered the cave on the other side according to the original queue. They all knew that a lot of time was wasted here. Although there is no time limit now, they can rest if it takes too long. If you encounter any danger again, wouldn't it be non-stop fighting? Although he has a god-level auxiliary system soul master like Yi Lanshan, the continuous feeling of fighting is really uncomfortable. but it is really good to come to such a hearty battle from time to time. At least it is definitely the best choice in terms of exercising muscles and bones. The flames opened the way, and there was no fog or the like gathered in the entire cave. This was good news, but it could also be a forecast of bad news. Zhu Jiangxing seemed a little frightened and looked up from time to time to see if there were any poisonous bats hovering around the top of the cave. If there were any, he should quickly deal with it or run away. This is really a very dangerous thing. A soul-like beast, he is also a great soul master, but he was almost half dead after being bitten by an ordinary poisonous bat. What would happen if he was bitten by a poisonous bat of the soul beast level? End of this chapter. Chapter 266. New chapter 1. The rest of the passage through the cave is still very fast. There is no obstruction of fog, but it is slightly darker. At the same time, there are many more corners in the cave than before. There are no straight passages that the cave should have. It doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter, and it won't slow down Jifei's progress. As they walked, Yi Lanshan distributed a special leaf to each of them. After taking it, they could restore their own soul power, and all of them would be restored in an instant. Some minor injuries such as friction injuries or fractures would also be fine. The rapid recovery undoubtedly made the rest of the people refresh the fear of Yi Lanshan's martial soul. Although Yi Lanshan mostly stood at the back during the battle and needed other people to protect him. Of course, the guy who protected him was arranged by Jifei or Jifei, but the few of them also knew Yi Lanshan how important is the role of Yi Lanshan, and among the 7 of them, Jifei is the most powerful and the most important must be Yi Lanshan. Each of the mysterious auxiliary soul skills is like a magic skill. Hulina, who was walking behind Yi Lanshan, patted Yi Lanshan, and then asked, "Lanshan, what did you learn when you followed the undead teacher? Is it also like fighting soul beasts? Or is it the undead teacher or the quack teacher? What about you instilling the knowledge of soul masters? You know a lot." Yi Lanshan thought for a while, and then replied, "In the past, I didn't fight anymore. If I fight with spirit beasts, generally the spirit beasts won't attack me. Maybe it's because my spirit has a feeling of being close to nature. So I will not encounter active attacks from spirit beasts in the Mizzen Grand Canyon, and I will definitely lose as an auxiliary soul master in the battle with soul beasts, so I have more knowledge about the cultivation of soul masters, and I'm immortal." The teacher has a lot of books, which are all the cultivation information analyzed, since the birth of the soul master, and I feel that you will have to learn it soon. This relationship is good. My cultivation of soul masters is far worse than yours. Before that, I didn't quite understand what meditation means. Now, the meditation during this period of time has made me realize the charm of soul master cultivation," said Jifei, who was walking in the front, very excitedly. Ziyu, who was walking at the back, sighed, "Zhao Fei, don't attack us. You have not mastered the method of soul master cultivation, and now your soul power has reached level 32. Ah, how old are you?" "We are all old." "Old?" Yan said. "Oh, brother Ziyu is old. Anyway, I'm still young, and my firepower is still very strong." Study. Zhu Jiangxing has a bitter face. He absolutely hates learning the knowledge of soul masters the most. He was born in the Flying Sword sect of the next 4 sects, so he is also a sect, so the cultivation resources and mentors he has are also there are quite a few, but since he awakened his martial soul, he has hardly studied it. Meditation and the like were forced into his mind by his father. Huo Rai obviously knew this too. Giant Crossing. Study. Maybe you can learn a lot of special knowledge about soul master cultivation from Master Immortal. Besides, Teacher Undead and Teacher Quack are different from those rigid mentors, right? Yi Lanshan said. Teacher Undead's lectures are quite boring, but Guagua is not bad. He tells the knowledge of soul masters humorously. Well, it's very good. Maybe after you study, you will know what an interesting training process soul masters are. Is that so? Guagua's lecture. Does he also talk about the knowledge of soul master cultivation? Jifei imagined such a scene for a while, and it seemed that he really felt a little special excitement. However, Jifei still cared about learning special cultivation knowledge. Cultivation knowledge is really lacking a lot. Jifei. Yi Lanshan called out to Jifei. Jifei turned around to look at Yi Lanshan with some doubts and asked, "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Or is there any danger ahead? Yi Lanshan shook her head, hesitated to speak, and then said, "It's nothing, just keep going. Depending on the situation, you can walk forward for a while, before you can get out." What happened? Ji Fei felt that Yi Lanshan was hesitant to speak, because there was someone else behind him, right? So Ji Fei sent a voice transmission to ask Yi Lanshan. Yi Lanshan's voice sounded at the same time. It was a questioning voice. "What do you think of Hulina and others? And do you know why Teacher Immortal wants to teach them?" The voice produced through sound transmission will have emotional fluctuations, which can be regarded as a voice that touches an emotion. What do you think? Why does the Immortal Teacher teach? Haven't all these been told? Ji Fei knew that Master Immortal was also a mentor of Wu Hundian Academy, right? And there seems to be some special deal with the person from Wu Hundian. So he agreed to teach Ziyu and others, and Yan and Huo Rao can be regarded as incidental to it. Yi Lanshan's voice sounded, "That's just what Teacher Undead said to other people." Simply put, Teacher Undead has his own purpose. Purpose? For what purpose? The purpose that Ji Fei could imagine was completely non-existent. What kind of purpose could there be if he provided resources and helped them cultivate? No matter how you look at it, it's all dedicated, right? Yi Lanshan said, "In short, it is for you. It is precisely because of your current teacher that you will not die. Since they bear the name of 7 emotions, they should not have other memories or emotions. Each of them has a different identity and origin, which is very complicated and difficult to solve. So it is correct to say that erasure." Ji Fei asked in surprise, "Erasing memory? Does that mean erasing previous memories? Isn't that a walking dead? How could Teacher Immortal do this?" Yi Lanshan replied, "Kiking involves a lot of special things, which cannot be known by other people, and they also cannot disclose it. Sister Nina and her 3 belong to the Wuhan Palace, and they have lived in the Wuhan Palace since they were young. If you choose to bear the 7 emotions, then you need to abandon the spirit hall. Do you think they will be willing? If they tell the Hall of Spirits about me and you, the undead teacher, and Guagua, what will they choose to do?" Ji Fei's complexion became a little cloudy, but luckily he was walking forward, and the others couldn't see Ji Fei's special expression, otherwise they must have been puzzled. Ji Fei didn't know what this meant, but felt that Yi Lanshan seemed to be talking about such a truth, but it always sounded weird. End of this chapter. Chapter 267. New chapter 2. Yi Lanshan's question was very profound, and it was not that Ji Fei was ignorant of the style of Wu Hundian. All geniuses that cannot be used for their own use must be completely eliminated. This kind of approach is undoubtedly despicable, but it is also the most necessary to maintain the development of Wu Hundian. From this point of view, Wu Hundian is not wrong. The wrong is the group of people who don't understand current affairs and are Junji. Ji Fei is a genius, and Yi Lanshan is even more so. The two of them have no intention of joining Wu Hundian. So what would Wu Hundian do if they knew about it? How to deal with them? This goes without saying. Ji Fei also knows this. He is not mentally like a child, and he may not understand the sense of belonging to power, but can the intimacy of living in one place since childhood be changed? Obviously, you can't. Will Ziyu and the others not tell everything about this place under questioning? Maybe Ji Fei is jealous, but it is possible to say it. The same is true of what you said, but what is the purpose of Teacher Undead doing this? Isn't it enough not to accept them from the beginning? Erase your own memory. Yi Lanshan continued to reply, "This is something that must be experienced, that's all. Don't worry too much. Anyway, this kind of thing doesn't happen once or twice. Isn't it once or twice? Could it be that other guys have experienced it before?" Yi Lanshan said, "It's not that this way has never happened. On the contrary, they all lived well, achieved some results, and then died in the lapse of time. For themselves, they were successful, but for immortality they are failures for the teacher or for you." The more he talked, the more confused he became, but Ji Fei felt that he was getting close to a real image. Suddenly, the dazzling light in front of his eyes brought Ji Fei back to his senses in an instant. It turned out to be out of the hole. It doesn't seem like a long time to go, does it? It seems to be quite a long time. Moreover, Ji Fei suddenly discovered that they are now in such a position at the bottom of a hill, and the exit of the entire cave was opened independently at the foot of the hill, and when they came out, they didn't feel the feeling of falling down the slope. Very strange. Ji-Fei didn't continue the conversation with Yi Lanshan just now. Knowing some things in general is enough, but knowing everything will be very disturbing. It finally came out. What time is it now? It feels like 10,000 years at a glance. The air outside is so fresh. Although it is mixed with thick mist, but after inhaling it into the body and going through a cycle, I feel like I'm alive again. That's right. In the cave, I was really aggrieved to death, feeling so depressed that I was about to die. A few people in Xiao opened their hands, as if embracing the whole nature, and made a cheerful sound, but this seemed to be more of emotion, the sense of sight, that they survived fortunately. Ji-Fei didn't pay attention to it. There was a trace of fear in his eyes, and at the same time he had some more detailed plans. Yi Lanshan stood beside Ji-Fei and stretched out her hand, showing a rare sense of relief on her small face. Maybe Ji-Fei would be really depressed without Yi Lanshan, but when Yi Lanshan seemed so relaxed, Ji-Fei felt much happier. At least from all aspects of himself, that kind of communication, the sense of penetration really seems to be integrated into the whole nature. By the way, what should we do next? Ziyu walked to Ji-Fei's side and looked at the endless green forest all around. It was exactly the same as the environment on the other side of the mountain before. The hazy mist evokes the heartstrings like white silk. Ji-Fei said, wait, it seems to be getting late now. Guagua also said that our goal is to get out of the cave. Now that we have completed it, the next step is to see what Guagua and Teacher Undead will arrange. Ziyu said softly, that's it. It's rare that Xiao Fei would choose to stay where you are. If it was before, you would have continued to move forward, right? How do you see that you look bad and are not feeling well? Or did you have a quarrel with 7th sister and the young couple? Yi Lanshan glanced at Ziyu helplessly. This guy seemed to be quite accurate. Ji Fiqiang laughed. Maybe so. Brother Ziyu, I have a question for you. Ziyu cast you a questioning look. Well, if you ask, you must know everything without saying nothing. Ji-Fei smiled lightly. If this is the case, then it would be fine. Is there a lot to say? Well, I can only express my apologies if the design has reached your bottom line. I'm quite flustered when you say that. What would involve my bottom line? Don't worry, my bottom line has no lower limit. Ji-Fei said, I'm not joking. You can generally know how your spirit hall behaves, right? At least the spirit hall under your master's leadership. Ziyu looked sideways and said in surprise, why, are you very interested in Wuhandian? Do you want to join Wuhandian? If you join, Wuhandian will definitely become more powerful in the future. Are you interested? Looking at Ziyu's firm gaze, which showed a feeling of incomparable glory for the 3 words Wuhandian, Ji-Fei had already expressed his helplessness. Join Wuhandian. I'm not interested in that at the moment, sorry. Seeing Ji-Fei, who is so polite, Ziyu felt a little uncomfortable. I'm not sorry, we are all friends after all. I just feel that if you join Wuhandian, you will definitely have a better future. It's fine now though. Is that so? Looking into the distance, a faint blue silk line in the distance divides the sky into several sections as straight as a musical score, which seems to be a special line of sight effect. What will happen to you if you are separated from Wuhandian? Ji-Fei said something casually. Of course, it was just a casual expression. Yi Lanshan was also a little surprised. Usually Ji-Fei wouldn't be so rash in his words, right? What's good? Ziyu turned her head to look at Ji-Fei, and his answer made Ji-Fei feel that this guy was really interesting. Become a strong person leading this era and survive for hundreds of years. You can get everything you can imagine. By my side, you and you are all. Ji-Fei said so, without any rhetoric. There is no impassioned expression. On the contrary, it is very cold. Xiao smiled, very strangely. I know, if I stay by your side, I will definitely get everything you said. To be honest, I just want to repay Master for Wuhandian. If I can become the most powerful person to help Master truly, if you control the Spirit Hall, I will choose to follow you. Is that so? End of this chapter. Chapter 268, New Chapter 3. Ziyu's answer is not an example of loyalty, but it also shows his sense of belonging, or it should be said that the sense of belonging of the 3 of them is not the Wuhan Palace, but their master in the Wuhan Palace. from the master who rescued them from life and death. They will not betray anyway. At this moment, Ji-Fei also understood Undying Douluo's stubbornness. Indeed, this kind of stubbornness is correct, even if Undying Douluo can last forever. But once he accepts the name of 7 emotions, he will have to break away from everything before and face it future. The so-called confinement and erasure of memory is also true, right? It's hard for Ji-Fei to imagine what will happen if this guy has no connection with his previous memories. Maybe it's not to that extent now. Maybe Undead Douluo will use a more gentle method, right? Maybe? With a sound of croak, a unique cry of croak sounded in the sky not far away. The cry was different from the powerful aura released by ordinary soul beasts. On the contrary, it was similar to human beings, purely human beings. The simulated cry was nothing more than that. Everyone else looked up at the sky, covered by a thin layer of mist. The moment a faint light reached their eyes, it seemed that a lot of things were missing. Even the light, that should have been dimmed a lot, and the mist would also have. Is it light absorbing? Guagua landed on the ground, in the same state as before, with azure blue all over. Unfortunately, it is impossible to see what its current complexion is, but it is probably a good type. Guagua looked at Ji-Fei and the others, and then said in a deep voice, "Today's trial is over. You can choose to find a place to rest. We will take action the day after tomorrow. Tomorrow you can make arrangements freely, but only in places where there is no fog around." Yes, with the arrival of Guagua, the surrounding fog has completely dissipated. It looks like an ordinary dense forest. The sun in the distance is gradually setting. It seems that they also spent a lot of time passing through the cave. Are you resting? There is still time to rest? Didn't you just train for 2 days? Yan said in disbelief. Zhu Jiangxing said in admiration. 2 days are like 2 years. I'm exhausted. Tomorrow I'm going to sleep until dark, to make up for the fright I've consumed before. On the other side, Guagua said, even if you are resting, don't forget my basic meditation. You have experienced a little more in the past 2 days. You have completed the original 4-day training task in 2 days. Well, it is expected. Things are done very well, and you have also found your own habitual methods in actual combat. In future battles, the combined strength of the 7 of you will undoubtedly become a sharp blade to penetrate all the guys who come to resist. Ji-Fei looked at Guagua with a puzzled expression on his face. Guagua, that's all you want to talk about? Is there anything else? Others? Guagua glanced at Xiao at the side, and then said slowly, this is not within my control. The battle between the few of you was pretty good, and in the end your cooperation with Greedy Dad was seamless. So let's say 99 points. That 1 point will be deducted if you come too slowly, and I'm going to fall asleep staying here. Well, you can do whatever you want. I still have some things to do. Where's the immortal teacher? Ji-Fei asked casually. Undying Douluo didn't show up at this time, which is not normal. According to this, Undying Douluo should appear at the end of the battle to judge the gains and losses of today's battle, or mercilessly point them out. Where are the mistakes? But why are there no words now? Greedy Dad, he also has his own things to prepare, so you can arrange it yourself tonight. We won't come here, of course. You don't have to worry about the additional attack of the soul beast. The souls around here, all the beasts were tamed by me. Also, don't move around at night. The mist will gather again after I leave, and I'll be back tomorrow. After Guagua finished speaking, he flew straight into the sky, and the way of flying was also very simple. Just like the usual floating in the sky, there was no extra movement. Looking at Ji-Fei, who disappeared in an instant, he also felt a little confused. Yi Lanshan on the side tugged at Ji-Fei. Don't think about it. If you can't think of it, let your brain rest after a hard time, and I'll rub it for you. What? Ji-Fei looked at Yi Lanshan in surprise. This doesn't quite fit Yi Lanshan's behavior, does it? But looking at Yi Lanshan, who was so serious, Ji-Fei also nodded, and then looked around. It just so happened that there was a huge piece under a tree not far away, and there were only a few fallen leaves on it, which looked clean. Let's rest first, everyone. I still have a lot of ingredients on me. I'll prepare dinner after I rest for a while. Ji-Fei indicated that there are still a lot of ingredients in the Kaiking ring on his hand. The Kaiking ring has a special freezing environment for storing ingredients, which is very special, similar to a refrigerator. At the same time, Fei also found that the kayaking ring there is still a very wide space inside, and there is no problem in placing surviving soul beasts or people. Planting things can also be used. The method of use is also very simple, and the soul power can be inhaled by aiming at the object that needs to be stored and entering. Okay. Xiaofen's dishes are the best, let's continue to work on them in a while. Hulina jumped up happily, looking like a child, but she is only a 10-year-old child now, and her nature of liking delicious food really cannot be changed. Once the original excitement came to a standstill, it became extremely tired, and the rest of the people also found their own resting places to start a short rest. At the same time, they croaked that there were no soul beasts nearby, let alone soul masters. So it is still very safe. It is also very beneficial for rest to not have that kind of feeling of fear. Fei was sitting on the stone. Yu Lanshan did not stand behind the stone to gently rub Fei's head, but lay down on Fei's back with her whole body and gently rubbed Fei's head. This movement. But it's really comfortable. I didn't expect you to massage so well, Lanshan. I feel that my whole body is much refreshed. Feeling the gentle force in his brain, Fei couldn't help, but his body began to tremble, slightly trembling. The movement is not important. I just want to miss it. As long as you like it. Yu Lanshan said softly, while rubbing gently. Well, Fei admitted that, as long as his own thoughts appeared in Yu Lanshan's mind, Yu Lanshan would be able to know them in an instant. So Fei had no secrets at all from Yu Lanshan's side. End of this chapter. Chapter 269 Valerie, 1. As night falls, people always immerse themselves in the good time of rest. The 7 people are all well, looking at the hazy mountain not far away, feeling the weak wind blowing from the foot of the mountain, rolling a little bit of mist and special atmosphere. The breath of the forest can't help but make people feel that the fog also has such a refreshing feeling. Fei and Yu Lanshan leaned on the boulder, and the surrounding area was cleaned extremely clean. The burning flames in the middle devoured a lot of mist in the air. Perhaps they were the only ones who dared to live and cook in the Lost Canyon people. Other soul masters would tremble 3 points if they heard the Mizzen Grand Canyon, and it is still a relatively deep place in the Mizzen Grand Canyon. The dangers are far more than unknown spirit beasts and terrible elves. Night without stars always makes people feel unreliable. Fei lazily leaned on the cold and hard rock, while Yu Lanshan lying on Fei's soft belly was lying on the side, and Yu Lanshan was covered with a layer of tender blow leaves. If you lie directly on the ground, there will be small bugs and the like around. Hearing Fei's sigh, Yu Lanshan smiled slightly. You used to love watching the stars. Do you miss your old hometown? Did you travel before? That's not true. It's just that people say that every star symbolizes a person. If a star falls one day, it means that someone in this world has died. Look, there is no starry sky now. Does it look like everyone is dead? Fei wanted to see the stars in the sky through the covered clouds, but it was just a fantasy. The fog that engulfed the Grand Canyon was so weird and incomprehensible. If that's the case, wouldn't it be possible to watch shooting stars every day? The implication is beautiful, but the stars are cold, right? People only gradually become cold after they die. Yu Lanshan also looked at the sky and fell into deep thought. The others haven't slept yet. They thought they would go to sleep early after eating a full meal. Look at the second brother Yan, who was the first to say that he would sleep until he woke up naturally. Yu Lanshan and Fei looked at 2 men and women leaning against the big tree not far away at the same time. Ah, the moonlight is beautiful today. Yan looked at the sky in a little bewilderment, and at the same time, felt the breath of Hulina beside him. He even felt that this was a dream. Hulina smiled. Where is the moonlight, brother Yan? We don't need to talk about it. We just sit here and fall asleep naturally. Remember the time before, when the Wuhan village was not yet awakened, and the village was not destroyed. The 3 of us were always catching fireflies in the reeds by the lake. At that time, brother Yan, you were even more stupid than you are now. You actually ran directly into the water to catch a firefly, and you couldn't swim. Yan scratched his head. Is that so? It seems that I just wanted to catch the biggest and brightest firefly for you, Nana, and ran into the water without noticing the surrounding situation. The most regrettable thing is that even the largest firefly was drowned in the water. PFFT. You are always so disregarding your own safety. Obviously you can choose to do nothing. Obviously you can also choose something better. Hulina turned her face to look at Yan, and looked at Yan seriously. There is no such charm when encountering opponents or using Wuhan. At this time, Hulina is just a little girl, an innocent little girl. There are still some things after that. Brother Yan, you are always called a stupid big abnormal guy by others. Is there? That guy dared to speak ill of me. When I go back, I must punish that ignorant guy with my fists. Then what if I said, Brother Yan, you are an idiot? Hulina asked. Yan frowned, not at all angry, but as if he was looking for how to answer Hulina's question within the limited vocabulary. Then I'll be a fool. Well, then I'll be a fool. I'll be whatever Nana says, but I seem to be a fool sometimes, right? PFFT, an honest boy like you, Brother Yan, may not find a wife in the future, so learn more from my brother. You see, my brother has found my future sister-in-law in the Hall of Spirits. Haha, but he is often bullied, but my brother is much smarter, and Zhujiangxing, he also has Hurao, his childhood sweetheart, who has a good relationship. Xiao Fei and Lanshan are like the kind of love that has not changed for hundreds of years. Just take a look at them, just be able to remember that we will always be together in the past and present. But what about you? Yan smiled embarrassingly. It seems to be the reason, but it doesn't matter. There is Nana you. I will be at ease after you find your home. I will talk about other things later. Now I just want to become stronger and protect you. I want to protect. Hulina said and muttered, idiot. Ah. What are you talking about, Nana? Yan looked at Hulina suspiciously. Hulina, who was a little shorter than him, was leaning on her side. Yan just took a look and was stunned. It's nothing. It's just that I feel like there's a stupid idiot next to me who doesn't know anything. It's obvious that everyone said it. Ah. Yan looked puzzled, as if he didn't understand the meaning of Hulina's words, and thought to himself, is this some new words? Who invented such a special and strange circle of words? It's really troublesome. Breeze can always bring some conversations between boys and girls who are just in love. Do you think Brother Yan is the kind who doesn't understand other people's minds without breaking the window paper? Eavesdropping is not a good habit. Jifei showed a gratified smile. It's not eavesdropping, but I'm just feeling sorry for second Brother Yan's character. If I were to beat Sister Nana, he would be designated to death by now. Yi Lanshan raised her hands and handled a young green leaf. Isn't the one cultivated in this way the most sincere? I'm really looking forward to what kind of new sparks will happen between the two of them in the future. Hey, G, don't you expect to fly? Me? I'd better forget it. I'm not interested in other people. I think it's better for the two of us to promote our relationship at this time. What about you, Lanshan? Jifei raised his hand and squeezed Yi Lanshan's small face. Is soft and delicate. It feels very comfortable. Yi Lanshan looked at Jifei with a slightly dull expression, but she didn't stop Jifei's hand. Instead she closed her eyes, seeming to be asleep but not asleep. End of this chapter. Chapter 270 Valerie, 2. The next day. Waking up naturally is a wonderful process, but the same environment without sunshine and only transparent. They can't know the existence and passing of time. The group of them only know that it is dawn, and the next day begins. This is where they can have a good rest. One day is not considered an outing, but at least one day can lie comfortably, or play for a day. Jifei didn't feel that kind of ease. After all, he experienced this every day, even when he was on the road during trials. He never felt anything new. There was no excitement in the other world. It's unremarkable. There are no people who come to trouble you all the time. On the contrary, people who don't know each other will maintain a kind of awe. Jifei woke up very early, and the absolute biological clock forced him to wake up. Yi Lanshan hadn't woken up yet, so Jifei had no choice but to continue lying there. After all, he didn't want to wake Yi Lanshan up, and Yi Lanshan was also very tired during this time. Looking at the other people who were still asleep, Jifei gently rubbed the sleeping eyes. Sleeping and waking up in such an environment is very comfortable, without the slightest sense of fatigue or dizziness. Maybe it's the fresh air, or being accompanied by someone you like. I don't know what time it is. What are we going to do today? Is there any interesting place to explore in the Lost Grand Canyon? If you can hold Lanshan's hand and wander around to enjoy the beautiful scenery, alright. Come here soon, quack. Although the fog is very comfortable and the humid air makes people feel refreshed, there is always a particularly depressing feeling in the environment here. Gudu. What's the sound? Soul Beast. Ever since his soul power reached level 32, Ji-Fei felt that he had reached a point where he was more sensitive than an adult soul master in terms of perception and reaction. He heard something under the tree on his left that seemed to be moving. Swallowing. Are you eating? Gudu, Gudu. The voice continued, and Ji-Fei knew that the other party seemed to be too obsessed with eating, so he didn't even hear Ji-Fei's voice. Right? Chaotic villain. Go and catch that strange guy behind the tree for me. If you can't catch him, you will do 100 push-ups. Punishing the villain of chaos is Ji-Fei's evil idea recently. Recently, the villain of chaos has become more and more similar to a human being with wisdom, and in the past, he would fight until he was beaten back by the opponent he could not beat. Until Ji-Fei's side, but the villains of chaos have been running away recently, and they still throw away the Kunwu sword in their hands, similar to throwing away their armor and fleeing, and they all start to feel pain. The chaotic villain is like a keen puppy. After sniffing the other party's breath, it seems to realize that the other party is a guy who is easy to bully. The voice of the villain must be evil, and the kind of he is completely possible. The chaotic villain didn't say a word. The Kunwu sword in his hand condensed into shape, and then flew directly behind the tree, and ran to the top of the tree in the blink of an eye, as if he was observing the foraging under the tree. A monster that does something else? What? A delicate scream similar to that of a little girl resounded, and at the same time, a large number of immature green vines suddenly appeared on the surrounding ground, and rushed towards the chaotic villain floating in the sky like crazy. The villain of chaos waved the Kunwu sword in his hand, and at the same time, a pair of wings of the fire cloud crane grew from his back, and every time the wings waved, the flames would splash out from the wings on the back, burning all the vines gathered around. At the same time, the villain of chaos slowly fell down. Without fluctuations in soul power, Ji-Fei can be sure that the vines growing on the ground do not have any fluctuations in soul power, as if they were vines that simply grew on the ground, but were originally hidden underground waiting for time to nourish and grow. Now it was suddenly spawned by another force, and under the control, it has the power and restraint similar to the plant type martial soul. Ah. What kind of guy are you? How dare you attack me? The earth elf. The white guy has no clothes on. Shameless pervert. Let me go quickly. Following the sharp scream just now, there was another series of cursing, this time, also similar to the voice of a little human girl. Maybe the others were really tired, and they didn't wake up with such a loud voice. Finally saw it. The chaotic villain flew towards Ji-Fei, and at the same time, lifted the one he was holding in the handle. A pair of white transparent wings grew from his back. He was wearing a light green skirt, had blonde hair, small emerald green eyes, and pointed eyes. A little guy with about 20 centimeters in the ears? Elves? At first glance, Ji-Fei saw that the one who was grabbed by the arm of the villain of chaos and dragged over was very similar to the elf. No, there is no similarity here. It's alright. The elf's grasping hands kept hitting the little chaotic man. The little chaotic man didn't feel anything, but shook her while pulling the elf, as if torturing the elf who kept scratching it. Are you an elf? Ji-Fei looked at being hugged by the villain of chaos from behind. Bah, it was the elf who held him up. The appearance of the chaos villain holding people up is really easy to cause ambiguity. Just hugging the elf and putting the chaos villain's head on the elf's shoulders, Ji-Fei himself was confused. Is this chaotic villain self-taught? Can you see me? No. What are you doing? You white pervert. Let me go. I'm a noble earth elf. You bastard. Elf shy. Yes. Ji-Fei rubbed his eyes. That's right. His face was slightly rosy. This elf would say shyly. Why can't I see you? What are you doing sneaking around there? Peeping. The elf took a look at Ji-Fei and wanted to get rid of the shackles of the chaotic villain, but found that Ji-Fei was really looking at him and said in surprise, "You can really see me? Isn't this nonsense? Everyone else is sleeping and it can't talk. If I don't ask you, who are you asking?" Does Ji-Fei feel that communication will become very difficult if people cross races? No. Doesn't this elf speak the same language as them? Who peeped? I just feel that there is an aura of an elf king attached to it, and I just happen to be hungry and eat something. How can you, a mere human, see me? Huh. This is. The elf looked at Yi Lanshan, who was still asleep, and exclaimed, Master. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271, Valerie, 3. This elf knows Lanshan? This was Ji-Fei's first thought, but after thinking about it, Yi Lanshan must have lived in the Lost Canyon for a long time. Don't wake her up, she's tired. Although Ji-Fei said so, how could the elf's loud cry not wake Yi Lanshan up? Yi Lanshan opened her sleepy eyes, looked up at Ji-Fei, who was talking, and at the same time, turned her face slightly suspiciously to look at the elf, who was firmly restrained by the villain of chaos. Why are you here? When Yi Lanshan asked this question abruptly, the elves were also a little flustered, because she also knew that the territory where their elves live in the Lost Canyon is far away from here, and the elves are not allowed to go out. The elf said with some embarrassment, I came here because I felt the breath of the Elf King. I thought it was the Elf King who came back, but I didn't expect to meet the Lord. Has the Elf King returned? Yi Lanshan got up and gathered her loose light green long hair. The breath of the Elf King, you feel, comes from Ji-Fei. He has the same special domain as your Elf King, the laziness domain. So the Elf King did not return. Isn't the Elf King the evil god Douluo? Ji-Fei remembered very clearly that immortal Douluo and Guagua had said so, and this was really the first time he had seen what an elf looked like. Chaos, let her go. Ji-Fei beckoned the chaos villain to let go of the elf, and then the chaos villain disappeared immediately. Who was that guy just now? It looks so powerful. Where did it go? The elf looked at the chaotic villain, who suddenly disappeared, and exclaimed, isn't this really strange? It just disappeared right away. It's not important. So you're running out behind someone else's back? Yi Lanshan asked in a very serious tone. Ji-Fei has never seen Yi Lanshan ask other people in such a tone. Does it seem that the appearance of this elf will cause some terrible things? But if it's just a simple way out, there shouldn't be any problem, right? In fact, the elves are a long-standing family that has existed on this continent for a long time. They are older than soul beasts and soul masters. They existed in the early days of the birth of the continent, and soul masters only appeared in its just a period of time in the long river of history. And it is precisely because every time a new civilization appears for humans, it is a process of recontact for their elves, and the elves have many secrets about the mainland, knowing that they will definitely move their minds. So the elves are self-enclosed in the Lost Grand Canyon. No one can leave their planned territory, and at the same time no one can invade their territory. In their long-standing fixed territory, elves are the most invincible. The elf scratched his head in embarrassment, while speaking in a faltering tone. That, seems to have come out behind someone else's back. Ji-Fei was surprised. What was the tone of the question? Do I need to ask other people? This elf is really interesting. You elders don't even know? Yi Lanshan continued to ask. The elf nodded and replied, I don't know. Yi Lanshan's expression froze to the extreme, as if this matter was serious. Beast swarm. There is another beast swarm in the Lost Grand Canyon. The sudden Yi Lanshan said something that Ji-Fei couldn't figure out. What does the beast tide mean? Seeing Ji-Fei's bewildered look, Yi Lanshan explained, every time the elves in the Lost Grand Canyon go out, the elders of the elves will trigger a wave of beasts to look for them. After all, the elves are very fast, and physically Xiaokio would not be able to find it if she didn't use a special method, and ordinary people can't see the elves. But if someone sees it and arrests the elves, it will be even more troublesome. What will happen? Ji-Fei was really curious about what would happen if the elves were really captured by humans or soul masters. Yi Lanshan reluctantly said, the elders of the elves will use a special summoning ceremony to send all the powerful elves to the captured elves, and at the same time, no matter what kind of existence is caught or knows the existence of elves, it will be killed. Annihilation, completely wipe out and kill, leaving no one behind. Why did Fei suddenly feel a chill down his back? Could it be that the elves came? I didn't see her. Hurry up. I didn't see you. I don't know you. I didn't kidnap you. It was Chaos who kidnapped you. The elf was speechless and at the same time said, wronged. Master, I can't help it. I broke in suddenly and it seems that I can't get out here. It's really strange, as if I broke into a special field. No matter how I fly, I can't fly out. Is it croaking? The method of croaking? It's a way to isolate the spirit beast. Yi Lanshan nodded and at the same time said to the elf, if the beast tide is triggered now, you must know the impact on us, right? The elf nodded suddenly. Of course, she had seen the spectacular scene of the elves triggering a beast tide more than once. Soul beasts ranging from centuries old to 10 years old would cover the entire Lost Canyon under the guidance of the elves. Elves are such a type of creature, blessed with the power to control the heaven and earth. They can even perfectly control all spirit beasts. No matter how powerful the spirit beasts are, they are so easy to control. Let's go. I'll take you back. Based on this time, the old man should not have woken up. It should be fine to send you back at this time. Yi Lanshan stood up, and Fei felt that her beautiful vacation was interrupted by a perfect destruction. Isn't this really annoying? But if the consequences are so serious and Yi Lanshan wants to go, Fei will naturally accompany her. Even though it's a day off, it's meaningless to sleep all the time. It's okay to put aside the practice for a day or half a day. Lanshan, let me go with you. Yi Lanshan nodded and at the same time said very seriously, but you must not release that kind of power of yours. It's better to hold on to the aura of the current evil spirit Douluo's lazy domain. Fei was a little puzzled, but seeing Yi Lanshan's serious expression, he had no choice but to agree. Anyway, he would not release the second martial spirit normally. That kind of breath is very strange, and the same power is also very strange. Okay, if we go this way and follow the Wu River, there will be no problem. We can still wash our faces. When we walk to the source of the Wu River, we will almost reach the residence of the elves, but because of the croaking, if the elves rely on it, is impossible for me to walk along the Wu River and find the way back. It seems to be a croaking barrier, so there may be soul beasts. End of this chapter. Chapter 272 Valerie, 4. Is that so? Fei glanced at the elf and couldn't help teasing that the elf would get lost after living in the Lost Canyon for so long. Yi Lanshan looked around and determined a place where the fog is most concentrated. The place where the fog is most concentrated is the direction of Wu. Our place is not very far from Wu. If there is no croaking barrier here, we don't need to go. Wu is gone, but there is nothing to do now, and if this little guy doesn't go back quickly, the elders of the elves might really launch a beast tide to look for her, which would be very troublesome. Fei also nodded. The others are still sleeping. Anyway, it doesn't matter if they are taking their own rest today. Let's go. The elf drooped his head and looked very distressed. It's so boring to go back. Lord, can you persuade the elders and them? We are only allowed to live in such a narrow circle, and we have visited all over the past few decades. There is no fun place. How can people be imprisoned in such a cage at such a young age? Hearing these words, Fei almost staggered and collapsed on the ground. Is he still young after decades? How old are you really? You won't be 6 or 70 years old, will you? If you penetrate the fog, you will soon lose sight of the road behind. This is a special defense method of the Lost Grand Canyon. If there is no special method to disperse the fog, 2 people will be able to see the front or the people behind are gone. If they break into a place where the fog is thicker, the line of sight will be weakened to 2 meters or even 1 meter, which is terrible. Think about the fact that the person in front of you just passed by, and you can no longer see him behind you. Isn't it scary? Yi Lanshan also knew Fei's doubts, so she answered Fei's questions while walking. This little guy should be 60 years old, but don't compare the lives of ordinary humans with the elves. The vitality of elves is very strong. Powerful ordinary humans can be regarded as adults when they are more than 10 years old, while elves need to be 1,000 years old to be considered half of their adulthood, which is equivalent to about 5 years old for humans. Of course, intelligence is not measured by human beings. Such an exaggeration? Does that mean that a titled Douluo is a child compared to an elf? Yi Lanshan nodded. Basically, according to Master Undead's calculations, the lifespan of an ordinary titled Douluo is only over 100 years old. 300 or 400 years old, compared with the elves. The elves died before they reached maturity. Knowing that such a real person like Fei can't help but sigh for a while. It really is a long-lived existence, and no matter how you look at it, it is many times smarter than the soul beast. The price paid by the soul beast for living for a long time is that there is no what a powerful thinking ability. Although human beings have a very strong thinking ability, they don't live long, but this elf family is completely different. The road was rough, probably because it was getting closer to the riverbank. The ground also changed from the original soil to golden sand like golden sand. At the same time, there were huge stones piled up together, and the fog became thicker. The elf stood on Yi Lanshan's shoulder, and she looked very afraid that she would not be able to keep up with Fei and Yi Lanshan if she was flying. "What's your name?" Fei turned his head and glanced at the elf, but the elf looked at Fei with fear in his eyes. It was not the so-called respect, but also the kind of respect and love for Yi Lanshan. It was naked fear. "Do you know that my name will put a curse on me?" "Curse?" Fei couldn't laugh or cry. The elf's imagination was not as rich as usual, and he seemed to have a sense of being persecuted and delusional. "How come I can't curse? Hey, what's your name?" "I'm Fei." Fei felt that he definitely said this sentence with a smile. With his appearance and gentleness, you can at least know a name with a smile, right? The elf was still a little restrained. She hugged a lock of Yi Lanshan's hair. My name is Valeria. Valeria. It seems to be different from the name of a normal human being, but it's also a nice name after all. You are an elf." Fei smiled, trying not to let the elf feel bad about him. After all, Fei would feel autistic if he left a bad impression on this childlike elf. "Fei?" the elf called out tentatively. "Huh? What?" Seemingly knowing that Fei wasn't as scary as she thought, Valeria asked, "Where's the guy who grabbed me just now?" "It's really rude. I was just looking for something to eat and it just grabbed me. Hugged me. PFFT. Fei, that chaotic villain of yours might marry someone." Yi Lanshan didn't need to ask about what happened just now. After all, she and Fei were in the same heart, and she naturally knew that the chaotic villain caught Wei not long ago. Lily's business. Fei looked at Yi Lanshan in surprise. Could it be that she will marry after hugging her? Isn't it? Wei looked shy. "Hold me. There will be a baby." The elder said that if someone hugs me, they must marry me. Otherwise tell the elder grandpa, and the elder grandpa he will vent my anger on me if— Hold me for a while. How is this possible? And chaos is completely an accident. What should I do if I let it marry you? It is my martial spirit. The education of the self family is really not good. How can you teach elves such knowledge? Fei looked at Yi Lanshan. Yi Lanshan showed some helplessness. The elves are like this. Besides, who made your chaos so special? It is impossible for ordinary people to hug or touch elves. It can only be captured using special methods. Pokeball? You think too much. Fei held back his bitter face. It's over. Although chaos is becoming more and more human, he is not human. Although he can also leave the body, without it, he will not have the power of martial soul. He can only use ordinary fighting skills or either the second martial soul. No, absolutely not. Fei looked like an old father. This Valeria, if you hug her, there will be no baby, and chaos is a martial spirit, not an elf, so the elders of your elf clan will definitely not agree, right? Vilya shook her head. It doesn't matter. Since it hugged me, I have to follow it. This is what the elder said. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, even if it is not an elf. Fei, my mentality has collapsed. End of this chapter. Chapter 273. Valerie, 5. The inexplicable Fei feels that this is an experience of losing his wife and losing his army, but even if what Valeria said is true, Fei can't keep the villain of chaos appearing, right? After all, the release of the martial soul requires the consumption of soul power. Is it necessary to make Valeria drink the chaotic villain and become a cowherd and weaver girl? Oh, no, Fei doesn't want to be the guy who hinders people from falling in love. In that case, the sense of guilt will tear Ji-Fei apart alive. How tormenting the feeling of being burdened by a chaotic villain all his life must be. Yi Lanshan said to Wei Li-Ria, who was standing on her shoulder. Viria, chaos is a martial soul. It can't stay with you forever. And if that old stubborn elf knows this, I definitely won't agree. And it's the same as what Ji-Fei said. There won't be a baby if you hug it. Don't worry, you will believe what I say, right? Yeah, that's right. That's right. What Lanshan said is very correct. If you don't believe me, I summoned the chaos villain to take a look. Without my order, the chaos villain can't move. Ji-Fei looked at Yi Lanshan very gratefully. It's better to be his own wife. He knows his own difficulties. As long as he summons the villain of chaos and let Vilya see the stupid appearance of the villain of chaos, he should be able to deal with it. Have you passed? Lanshan, you should warn the elders of the elves to teach some normal knowledge. Ji-Fei secretly reminded Yi Lanshan. Otherwise, will there be a weird scene and the elves in the future? Yi Lanshan replied, I can't help it. This is a custom of the elves, but Vilia should also like chaos a little bit, right? Otherwise, why would she mention this matter? What do you think? Ji-Fei hurriedly replied, you speak lightly, don't you know what chaos is? It's just a special martial soul, and it only appears when I use my soul power. It doesn't appear in ordinary times, won't show up. That's not necessarily the case. Your chaotic martial soul sounds strange. It has undergone special mutations since the first time it ate your system book. Ji-Fei was also dumbfounded when he heard this. Yes, if it was someone else, they would definitely feel astonished when they heard about the Traverses system, but it seemed like nothing in Yi Lanshan's eyes. Or is it that no matter how powerful the Traverses are, they can't match her, or are they? Forget it, let's call it out. To make Vilya give up, Ji-Fei summoned the villain of chaos while walking, and the villain of chaos summoned would not manifest Ji-Fei's soul ring, which was a very strange hidden point. The picture that Ji-Fei had originally envisioned. No, it was not at all. It should be the most normal picture. When the villain of chaos is summoned, he will automatically lie on Ji-Fei's shoulder or head and wait for orders from Ji-Fei, but this time the painting style seems to have undergone a complete change. No, it was completely unexpected. Okay. The chaotic villain looked around, and in a very humane way, he set his distinctive eyes on Vilya's body, and at the same time, flew to Vilya's side, opened his hand, and directly held Viriya's body. Lilia hugged her from behind, tied her up, then opened her mouth and bit Vilya's pointed ears. Ji-Fei froze in place, and Yi Lanshan also froze when she saw this scene. Wei Li-Ria blushed like a sunset, and at the same time her slightly vibrating wings were completely taut. This chaos villain, you are confused. I didn't let you catch her, did I? What are you doing? Why are you talking? Yi Lanshan didn't expect such a scene. Did this chaotic villain in the form of martial soul actually do such a thing? This seems too hard to believe, right? She was sure that Ji-Fei didn't give any special orders. Could it be caused by previous orders? It doesn't seem right either. The chaotic villain is transparent, and he is similar to a ball of air. However, it is worth mentioning that the chaotic villain gives people the feeling that they are constantly changing, as if they are constantly changing towards their human form. It's just that the height has not changed, the rest seems to be changing, and the facial features have become clear and three-dimensional. Lanshan, this. Ji-Fei couldn't describe his feelings anymore. He obviously wanted to give up, but what the hell is he doing now? It would be great if chaos could explain it with some words. Yi Lanshan said helplessly, otherwise, no matter how you explain it, it won't be clear. Wei Li-Ria has already been tempted. Well, fortunately, she was not returned by Sister Nana, who or else saw it. Otherwise, the two of them would have to call out what was there. Ji-Fei walked up to Yi Lanshan, and at the same time raised his hand, and pulled the villain of chaos to his feet. Of course, the villain of chaos was immediately lifted up, after being grabbed by Ji-Fei. You are going to die, villain of chaos. What's the matter with you? Why did you suddenly bite someone? You are not a dog, right? Well, it's time for treatment, so you should go back first. Do not. Just when Ji-Fei was about to take back the villain of chaos, a voice different from the three of them sounded, I rely on Ji-Fei naturally felt that the words were spoken by the Chaos Villain, and suddenly he threw the Chaos Villain inside his hand out, and at the same time he yelled in surprise. The chaotic villain was suspended in the air, looked at Ji-Fei, and said ambiguously, "Elf, vitality, powerful, eat it." It's just a few simple words. It seems that they can't be combined into a sentence. No, even if Ji-Fei can stop the sentence, Ji-Fei can't let the chaotic villain speak at all. This guy can actually speak. Yi Lanshan said, "Is it the source of life? I see. It seems that this chaotic villain has grown with the help of the special power of the Villera elf, and has become a future form. Sure enough, if it continues to grow like this, Chaos the villain might also become an existence similar to an elf. If Chaos is in your memory, he is a guy who eats everything. Well, a match made in heaven. I think Ji-Fei has something to play with." Ji-Fei looked at the three guys in front of him. It's over. He seems to be unable to fit into this circle. What will these three people say? Chaos villain, do you really like others? No. Let's take a long-term view on the decline. Let's hurry up and send Valia back first. As for the villain of chaos, where is the villain of chaos? Ji-Fei didn't pay attention. The villain of chaos actually hugged Weiliya again and bid Weiliya. End of this chapter. Chapter 274 Valerie, 6. Ji-Fei was surprised and delighted by the series of behaviors that the villain of chaos suddenly made that was seriously inconsistent with his own situation. He was surprised that the wisdom of the villain of chaos would increase with the passage of time. He was surprised that the villain of chaos, what is the ultimate purpose of doing this thing? The sound of running water crashed. Ji-Fei and the others had unknowingly walked to the side of the so-called Wu River. As Yi Lanshan said, the Wu River is indeed a river, but this river seems to be very special. It seems that what flows in it is not pure clear river water, but mist flows together with the river water, and the two flow together towards the bottom without any sense of separation. The flow of water is not very large, and it is about 10 meters wide. Seems to be a river flowing around the previous mountain. Walking to the side of the Wu River, Ji-Fei suddenly felt that Yi Lanshan had a sense of facing him, as if something terrible or troublesome might happen if he walked along the Wu River, but Ji-Fei himself didn't feel this way. He just felt that the fog here was thicker and there was nothing special about it. When you get closer to the edge of the Wu River, you will encounter many soul beasts. They all come to drink water. Most of the soul beasts will not attack us, but there is no lack of some desperate soul beasts. For their kind for soul beasts, if they can eat an elf like Vilya, their own vitality and cultivation will increase by a large margin. Relying on the simple passage of time, soul beasts will go through tens of thousands of years. It would be completely different to drop or absorb a spirit's life source. Yi Lanshan explained to Ji-Fei as she walked. As she said, if a soul beast devours an elf like Valeraya, it will make progress in cultivation, which cannot be replaced by time. The obsession of beasts to become stronger is deeply ingrained into every inch of their skin, and that obsession can make them rebel against everything, even if they are as strong as elves. It seems that not only human soul beasts have this kind of thing, guys who do whatever they can to become stronger, but shouldn't elves be pretty powerful? Can't you beat ordinary soul beasts, Virila? Weiliya nodded a little embarrassedly, and felt even more shy when she felt the faint aura of the chaotic villain behind her. After all, she had never felt this way before. If she was of the same family, she would have slapped her away with a backhand. But the special aura of the chaos villain seemed to be dispelling the bad mood she imagined. I thought I could only use some small scale magic, because I didn't have an adult age. It's okay to meet a 100-year level soul beast. If it is a 1000-year-old soul beast, it will become particularly tricky. Besides, I don't know much about it except for the faint breath. I don't know the route in the Lost Grand Canyon. The fog here is too thick, almost completely blocking my breath. Magic? There is such a thing as magic in the Soul Master's world? It's amazing. That's right, the elves know the existence of magic, but if you look at it this way, does magic also exist in this world? Or has it existed before? What about in this world? Just like the previous master? Knowing such a fresh and familiar vocabulary, Ji-Fei felt that it was quite normal. After all, if a continent that had been born for a long time had not gone through so many migrations and changes, it would be quite abnormal. According to Jifei's own study during this period of time, he found that the cultivation system and cultivation methods of soul masters are not so perfect. There are still many shortcomings, and some of them are even fatal. Yi Lanshan nodded and replied, according to Teacher Undead's account, the continuous changes in the continent and the continuous increase of special powers between the heavens and the earth have led to the emergence of many special professions. For example, the current soul masters and soul beasts must use only the soul power can be driven. This point is absolutely irreversible. If the soul power dissipates, the soul master will not be any different from ordinary people except for the momentum he has cultivated for a long time. Glancing at the contemplative Jifei, Yi Lanshan continued, existences like divine masters or magicians are cultivation methods that existed on this continent longer than soul masters, and it's just a combination of changes over time. The migration of the continent and the changes in the key of cultivation, and the key that sustains various cultivation methods have undergone drastic changes, and what follows is a kind of existence called the transitional period. Transitional period? Jifei thought for a while. It seems to be a special period. Is it a buffer period for changing cultivation methods? It seems to be such a truth. Yi Lanshan smiled slightly. The buffer period is a special period of time. During this period of time, there is no existence with power. We are all ordinary people. Everyone's previous power will disappear because there is no power that can be absorbed in the existing key. The so-called power that exists in key seems to have completely disappeared, so that everyone will become an equal sharer. How long will this so-called buffer period last? What will happen after the buffer period passes? Yi Lanshan said, the buffer period may last tens of thousands of years, or it may only be a few thousand years. It basically wipes out the memory of a group of people, waiting for them to die, their descendants to die, and their descendants' descendants to die, waiting for the day when this continent suddenly reappears. There is a special kind of key, and this kind of key will bring mutation and powerful power to all kinds of humans or beasts, and this is after the buffer period. Is that so? I'm afraid there won't be a buffer period for someone like Teacher Undead, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't say that the power possessed by Teacher Undead is absolutely incomparable to other 7 emotions. Yeah. Yi Lanshan nodded. That's right. Teacher Undead is a special existence. Neither he nor they will experience such a buffer period. After all, they are usually just lethargic, or looking for something they are interested in to explore. Time is as simple as a concept to Undead Teacher and the others, and they will always see the concept of tomorrow. It's good to be alive. Jifei couldn't help sighing that there is such an existence in the entire Douluo Continent. Teacher immortal. Haha. It seems that those so-called titled Douluo are like a speck of dust in front of an existence like Teacher Undying. Teacher Undead can push the entire Douluo Continent horizontally only by relying on the power of a half-hearted soul master. Of course, this concept is absolutely valid when other people with the 7 emotions or the 10 commandments will not appear, but Teacher Undead likes it very much. Strange things and gold coins, but it seems that they won't be sold easily. End of this chapter. Chapter 275 The Chaotic Peach Blossom. 1. After getting to know Jifei a lot about soul masters, he couldn't help but feel the power of Undead Douluo. To him, Douluo is just a contemporary name. Who was he many buffer periods ago? What kind of powerful power does it have? Walking by the foggy river, there is only the sound of water rushing around. Although it is not quiet, it also makes people feel a little weird. If a guy who likes to be lively comes to the Lost Canyon, he will probably go crazy in a short time. Question mark? The villain of chaos also seemed to feel that it was not the right way to restrain Vili Raya all the time, so he returned to stand on Jifei's shoulders on his own. He didn't speak anymore, but from time to time, he would turn his face to look at the shy Virilaya. By the way, Langshan, aren't the elves of the elves the friendly kind? Yi Lanshan glanced at Vilya and said, it's different. Some elves don't hate humans, but some elves really hate humans stepping into their territory, so let's send Vilya back to the elves. You can go back to the edge of the clan's territory. It's better not to enter, so as not to cause unnecessary trouble. Welilia suddenly said, Master, I don't want to go back. Can you let me stay by your side? If you talk to the patriarch, he will definitely agree. Yi Lanshan said to Wen Raya with a slightly teasing tone. Are you following me or chaos? Although chaos is very special, it seems impossible to be with you. So when Raya returned to the elf family, the outside world is very dangerous, especially elves like you, since you are not your opponent. When you meet ordinary titled Douluo, you may not even be able to find you, but powerful soul beasts are very special to you interested in. Lanshan, you said that this little elf, Raya, has the power to rival a titled Douluo? No way. Such a small elf has the power to rival a titled Douluo? Of course. Yi Lanshan said with certainty. Didn't I just say that Raya is about a dozen years old than a human being, and magic is inherently many times stronger than a soul master? If we were to be more specific, Raya should be equivalent to a soul master between level 96 and level 98. Maybe a little higher. Of course it is combat power. Jifen's head was a bit big, and he looked at the villain of chaos standing on his shoulder, as if the deal was worth it. Marrying the villain of chaos, and then abducting back a level 90 titled Douluo's combat power, in this case, Bloodturn. Jifei rubbed his hands, and said a little embarrassedly, Lanshan, actually, I think this chaos and Raya are quite a good match. I really regard chaos as my son. Look, although chaos I can't tell the difference between men and women, but Raya and the villain of chaos really love each other, and you can also be regarded as the mother of the villain of chaos, right? Do you think we should be beautiful as adults? Yi Lanshan said angrily, I still don't understand your thoughts. Raya does have such fighting power, but there are many powerful beings in this world. What if you are really in danger? What if Raya if you die? Do you know what kind of waves will be caused on this continent? It's very dangerous. Very dangerous. You look so cute. Jifei raised his hand and touched Yi Lanshan's head. Well, if you say that, I feel even more that the two of them should be together. Raya. Jifei looked at Raya with a fatherly look. Raya is a little at a loss. Although she has lived for a long time, she is just a child in the elf clan, just because the elders in the clan teach that if you meet someone stronger than yourself, you should marry. And this chaos is not very similar to human beings and elves, and is more powerful than herself. She originally wanted to resist before, but under the powerful aura of the villain of chaos, she didn't take any action at all, and just caught her without a fight. Jifei said to Raya, well, yes, it is such a look. Although the little chaotic man's words are stupid, his strength is still very good, and now he gradually has wisdom similar to mine. Well, it will definitely be better in the future. Awesome. I'll let you guys be together if I can. Yi Lanshan sighed helplessly. Raya, if you think the same way, I can discuss it with that stubborn old man, but it's up to the stubborn to disagree. But, Yi Lanshan looked at Jifei. Jifei has your Elf King's exclusive domain, and chaos is almost synchronized with Jifei, so it may be able to control the power of your Elf King's special domain in the future, so that the stubborn old man should agree. But I still want to say that the outside world is really dangerous. Jifei thought for a while. Is it dangerous? Such a small elf has the power to fight against more than 90 level titled Douluo. Hey, I can't believe how powerful those adult elves in the elf clan are. The elves are blessed with a unique legend. It is said that they are creatures born with the earth and have a powerful breath of life. If they are approved by the elves, they can use the power of the earth and all things. Raya looked at the idiot-like chaotic villain and nodded. His breath really attracts me. This is love at first sight, that granny who has said. Jifei felt very comfortable. He actually arranged chaos major life events by himself. However, after looking at the situation of chaos, he might really have the IQ of independent thinking. After all, when Jifei directly conceived a powerful martial soul, considering that his martial spirit needs to be particularly humanized and extremely powerful, the current transformation of the chaotic villain is extremely normal. Yi Lanshan could only helplessly look at the very happy Raya. It seemed that, no matter what she said, she couldn't dispel her thoughts. Besides, Raya was the daughter of that woman. If Jifei had to be with chaos, Jifei would probably have to be detained in the elves, so it would be better to go with the flow like this. At least hug Jifei. Hurry up, there is still a long way to go from the elves. And I have to think about how to explain this to that stubborn old man. Virilia said gratefully, my lord, thank you very much. Yi Lanshan quickly replied, forget it, you still don't want to thank me first. You just gave it to chaos for nothing when you first appeared on the stage. As long as you don't feel at a disadvantage. Wheelia. End of this chapter. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.